And welcome everybody to the playoffs for the Upsurge Premier League. I am your host for the evening, Ravishing Ravish, the most ravishing man on the internet. And I'm joined today by two very, very new faces. Now Beatdown has ducked down to go join the casters, and I'm sad about it. I'll cry about it later, but I have a smile on my face today because I have two beautiful faces. Firstly, let me introduce my new analyst by my side, Mr. Frank Nightstar. How you doing, baby? You good?
I'm doing absolutely amazing, Ravish.
Oh, thank you. You know what? Quick to the point. I appreciate that. And next, of course, is the absolute guest of honor. We've been teasing her for the past month now, I think, but we actually might somehow get her on some way, somehow. You don't have to put a lot of strings to do so. So let us all welcome Miss Kari Wave. How you doing, Kari?
Hi. That's not good. That's first time. It's all good.
Yeah, I mean, we said it before. We'll say it again. There's a first time for everything. So we're simply just happy to have you on. It's just like, you've been out here hustling and bustling the league community. So we're out here to just test your chops, see if you have what it takes to stand up to the best of us, that being Beatdown, of course.
And he's not here, so.
Exactly. So you automatically win. Easy clap, bro. That's what we like to hear. Man.
We've had a lot of wins by default lately, so.
Oh boy,
the best kind.
I can't believe I just said that.
With all that being said, let's move on into the matches that we have for tonight. It's going to be Revival versus Bay State College. Now, both of these teams have been through the absolute ringer, though. We said it before, there's a main bracket that we have in front of us today. Now, Revival are coming as pretty much as the first seed, and Bay State as the fourth, right? So we know Revival to be an absolutely fantastic team. As I just said something wrong, they're the second and the third seed overall. Thank you very much, production, for correcting me on that. So, Although the season has been quite back and forth revival, we saw them as an absolutely unstoppable force, but they dropped some surprising games on the other end. Bay-State, they have been a complete coin flip, and only in terms of their matches, but also because their rosters, you never truly know what you're going to expect. So, Frank, I'll start off with you here, man. Talk about us a little bit about Bay-State going into today.
Yeah, I mean, Bay-State, we've been told that this is the roster going forward, which is exciting to see or to hear about because they've just been an absolute box of chocolates. You open up, you're like, okay, it's something. And I don't know if I like all of them, but I at least like a couple of them. So that's kind of how this team works. And hopefully with a set 5-man roster, that means good things moving into the playoffs, starting with today.
Could you tell us all 5 names, please? Spray them out loud so that way we're not going to be surprised anymore. At least I won't be. Like, give me those names through your beautiful mouth, Frank, please, by all means.
Oh my god. Let's see. We've got what? We've got Mex, we've got Jekko, Saranok. Of course, that's a familiar name. Invictrix and Sword Blue. So mid lane and bot side, those are familiar names. However, Mex, Jekko, new names, brand new names. So that's why it's still a box of chocolates. Because while this is the set 5-man roster, we have 2 brand new players coming in for just a playoff series. This is playoffs where everything matters.
If Forrest Gump was a fan of League of Legends, he would be on Bay-State. I don't have a doubt in my mind. Going on over to the Revival here, though, Kari, we've seen these guys, go through almost every single Tier 1 tournament. You've personally seen their journey as they've evolved and grown, but they've been hitting a bit of a rough spot, though, as we go into today.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just go over the roster. Is that a good place to start? I think we all want to hear that. So we have the 3 core members. We have Concept, Cyber, and Sudsy, right? So those are our first 3. But unfortunately, our other 2 members, who we're just not going to dwell on it, got suspended for a month, and now we have 2 subs. We have Lobos and Chukis, and they are actually a pair. They played on GVU together, so they do have synergy. They do have a pre-existing charm together, but it's a little bit worrisome, honestly, because you have this brand new duo coming in with the 3 pre-existing members, and yeah, it's a whole thing. So we do have this, yeah.
It has a little bit interesting with the way the team has evolved across back and forth, though, but one staple of the team that we've seen has stayed true, tested, and clear, like the Statue of Liberty, right? It will never waver, that being Sudsy, right? This man has stayed standing with his torch way up high in the mid lane, making sure that we gonna be okay, Kari.
Yeah, it's true though. Sudsy has as you saw in that clip, Sudsy has a great style of play that does center around teamwork. It's map awareness becomes the name of the name of the game in the late game. So Sudsy, I really think that Sudsy is going to be the key to helping these 2 new members, because I think we talked to them earlier today, and they said they've only done 3 scrims against Evil Genius's prodigies. So 3 scrims together is not enough to really find out your cohesion, find your play style. So we're a little concerned, but what happens happens.
On the flip side, at the same time, we have Saranok, who is also a key player here, especially when, for the side of Revival, they have a new bot side, but for Bay-State, again, they've got a new top and jungle. So with the top laner being a new person, then it really comes down to the mid laner really navigating the traffic, being able to allow resources to go into the hands of Jekko and allow him to then facilitate the rest of the game, as we're going to be able to see some of these comparison numbers here. And Saranok, his control mages, we all know about the Xerath. So I expect to see Xerath bans come out, but then it comes down to, all right, well, if both of these mid laners are going to be playing things like the Orianna, perhaps we get to see some curveball picks, like perhaps an Echo or Yone in that mid lane.
Now we've seen Sudsy bring out the we got the Echo before, and he has absolutely monstrous scaled on it and been able to bring back, I believe, game before from the absolute depths of despair. So I am very excited to see what he brings out tonight. You know, we like you mentioned, Akari, we were talking to Alex, one of the coaches, right? And they are quite confident the team going tonight, although they are not at a giant star. They're not looking towards NSG to possibly prove themselves back up again. We do have to remember these teams, like this team was quite good. They've only been formed just a couple of months ago, and now having moved to a brand new bot lane, synergy does definitely take time. But the same can be said around Bay State. So we have now two opposite ends of the map with two brand new players. So things should get really, really interesting. So we'll definitely be looking at the mid lane as the main staple to be able to provide balance for both of them. Because in my opinion, whoever wins that lane might just win the game, but that's just my opinion. So speaking of all that, though, here, Nightstar, I'll stick with you going to Bay State as of right now. What kind of composition do you think we can expect to see from them going to today?
Yeah, I mean, again, I mentioned it, touched on it, that mid lane we're going to see the control mages for the most part coming in from Sarnak. However, at the same time, they like to play some of these mini synergistic wombo combos or that kind of stuff. So we expect to see some of that, but they play really well together. So that's the big thing. And the fact that, all right, well, you're going to be able to see them play around the individuals, not necessarily as a full 5-man, but because of that, you're going to see some mini interactions. You're going to see like the Galio Nocturne kind of stuff. And yeah, so that's what I'm looking for. And because of that, it might make them a little bit predictable in draft.
Draft is the main question for both of these teams. But yeah, like you mentioned, it is going to be very interesting coming into today, right? Because we know Bay State, they've consistently pushed this rhetoric that they are bigger than the sum of their parts. They're a team, whole and one, as all together, right? If this was if all 5 of them were Bay State, this would be them all the time, all like this, which is what I genuinely believe. But on the other end, though, here, Akari, we've seen that on side of Revival, a lot of these guys, because the new bot lane, they managed to actually change up a lot of the play on what they want to bring to the team as well.
Yeah, I think that we're probably going to see something more like Stalwart and, again, with the control mages, potentially for Sudsy and mid, just because that's the person who kind of connects both of these lanes, top and bottom. And I think that they really will be like the pillar, mid win, and maybe win the game, is kind of what I'm banking on there. As far as the other draft picks go, I think that I think draft is actually going to be relatively harmonious. Bay State does have a lot of they're not one tricks, obviously, but there are some very serious mains on that side, and so I think we'll be seeing some bans towards those coming into that. Lobos and Chukis, I'm really excited to see kind of if they go for the dive comp, if they go for the late game scaling comp, because there really is no telling, especially with new players, if they're trying out new strategies. It's hard for us to tell, honestly, if they're going to actually lean into previous existing meta and what they're good at, or if teams will push them to try something new, because coaching staff, if they're adventurous, they will try to bring out the best by going in a completely different direction. So
and we've seen this before as well. I remember we were talking about it with Concept bringing out the Singed top. We brought it before here as well. And then although I do definitely have some mixed feelings around it, it is definitely interesting, right? And as a top player myself, whenever I lock into a solo queue game and I see my Singed, I'm typing the FF button as soon as that hits 15, because I know I don't want to play against that, not even for a second. Thank you. But going past all that, though, like definitely, I do imagine going into this game, we'll definitely see a lot of top side focus, especially from Cyber, because Cyber, I believe, is another staple in the team, which I believe will allow them to lead them through whatever cop and decision they decide to bring through tonight. Where the changes due to the bot side, the overall communication structure for them has also changed too. The previous bot lane were very big voices, and now it's all about finding the same vision as all 5 players, which I believe Bay State has done a really good job of here, Frank. So when you're looking into tonight, and I know you mentioned a couple of different picks though that we could possibly see going into today. Could you possibly name some priority picks, for Bay State that we might end up seeing in draft?
Yeah, I think the priority is going to come down to finding a good matchup in that mid lane, making sure that if they want to go for a control mage in that mid lane early on, that they make sure they time it. I would say something like an R3 pick, because then you're able to double ban some of those Yone or Echo curveball picks that would really threaten an Orianna in the mid lane, or even the Xerath if it does fall through draft. But just going back onto the Cyber point here, Cyber, he's got a great opportunity to really punish in this series because they are going up against an unknown in that top side. Being able to really possibly punish Mex and Jekko, just that duo, put them through the ringer. That is going to be their opening, in my opinion, to get through this.
And one big thing as well as always is you have to remember, Carter, you spoke about one tricks on the other side of Bay State. Cyber himself is a very largely well-known one on that Kha'Zix, right? So, and if they manage to actually give him the Kha'Zix, I can't imagine the game goes any different way. But one big, absolutely massive piece of information is that Revival do have blue side this game. And speaking of Drake before as well, red side, it's very, very important for Bay State. So going to game number 1, I do have a lot of interesting questions to possibly see what we can play it out to be. But, Carter, some of the questions for you going to the draft today for a Revival. What are some picks that you're supposed to be looking at?
Okay, so I think, listen, I think that Concept, I think Concept really tried something out and it didn't work. And this is a pick that I actually don't want to see, as I don't want to see the Singed top. You knew it was coming. You knew I wouldn't let it go. So that's one pick that I just don't want. I don't want to see it. I would prefer not. But I think one of the better picks that we can see is that Urgot, is that Scion. I think Scion would be an absolutely awesome pick, especially into these Chukis and Lobos seem to especially play glass cannons on a lot of their matchups. So I'm thinking that maybe having, the control and the tankiness of a Scion, hopefully we won't see that singed is all I'm asking. Just one thing. I just want one thing.
I will say, Singe does like his tank matchups.
Yeah. I just don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it. I don't think that it works out. I don't
I'm
think
ready.
It's going to work. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Honestly, I get the feeling, especially when you're trying to make predictions, that I'll just end up eating my words. They'll probably just pick it because they heard me say that. And you know what? I'd like to be proved wrong. So if that is the case, more power to you. If that's what you want, you can have it.
Now, Alex did tell us that he would be watching and waiting to see what before we got into the game. So, Alex, if you're listening to us right now, hey, man, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Well, actually, hey, maybe how about this? You know what? If y'all win game 1, do it. Have fun. I'm all for it.
Yeah. It's worth the risk, right? It's game 1, so you can lose it. You just have to reverse sweep after that.
Margin for error. Or if they take game 1, then you just first pick at game 2. Do it.
Exactly. All we're generally here for to see here, ladies and gentlemen, is some good League of Legends, right?
Yes.
Which is what both of these teams want to play and really bring out swords. I don't know about y'all, but I feel like I've been deprived of it for so long. I just want to see just two absolute massive powerhouse teams clash somewhere alongside different ideals, different map choices. Once you split the map, you see that once you get our 20 minutes, it all gets down to one simple objective. And as you inch closer and closer to the game, 30 minutes go in, and you're wondering, you're waiting, you're hoping. Simply one trigger could decide everything. That's all I want. So if y'all can give me that, great. If not, that's also okay. I'm willing to settle with a 20-minute blowout.
We'll take it. If we have to, we will take it. That's the fact.
1,000%. So now with this, what I do want to understand from both of you, I need to get your predictions. It is the time, and the time is now. So I want to hear numbers, and I want to hear why 2, 4, 3, 0, 11, nothing. I say to beat that every week, but now that he's not here, Kari, I'll start off with you. Who is going to be and why? Please, excruciating detail.
In detail, but I really okay. Here is I hate predictions. Man, this is so scary, especially on this desk where it's like live or die, these predictions. So, all right, okay. Here's what I think, right? I
Sure.
do think that Sudsy is going to rise to the challenge, but I think
Mhm.
it's going to take one game to get those pre-game jitters out. I really do. I think that Sudsy's going to need that little we're going to try something adventurous and then we might kind of lose our mettle and kind of go back to something like an Oriana on the second game and come back very strong. So I predict Bay State for our first game, right?
Okay.
And then I predict Revival for the next two. That's what I want. And I really think that they can do it. And once they see what Bay's actual strategy is, because it's a mystery right now. There's really there's two players that we don't really even have very much data on. And so I think they're going to need that first game to see it. And I'm kind of worried that they are actual bangers being hidden in the background. So I need that first game. I need them to be okay with losing the first game.
Both those players are European, so hopefully they've had their beans on their toast this morning and they're ready to play this game. But Frank, same question. What answer you got from me?
Yeah, so there's so many unknowns in this opening game. And I am leaning towards also Bay State taking game number 1, but I think they'll take game number 2 as well. So I'm going to go 2-0 Bay State. I believe in the imports.
Wow.
I
All
mean,
right.
I don't want to even contest that. Because like I said, we have so many unknown parts of this, and I love imports. Even the import conversation that's happened prior, I really think that I think something wacky is going to happen. To be honest with you, am I wrong? Am I wrong?
I mean, you have, as far as I know, you've yet to be proven wrong yet here at Upsurge. So we're fine.
Yeah.
So your narrative still does genuinely stand. Now,
That's
if
true.
you were to come to me and ask me, which none of you have yet, I'm honestly hurt, by the way. It's fine. So I'll answer my own question. In terms of my prediction going into tonight, look, I've talked to these teams times and time again. I've seen these teams time and time again. And considering how it's do or die, right? It genuinely all comes down to this. When the quarterfinals for the UPL, Revival are coming off of a tough loss, right? Because they know right now for themselves, they have to prove themselves that they are a genuine contender and they deserve to be at the top, whether it be this year or next year. And synergy is an absolutely massive factor. Now, on the side of Bay State, though, these guys want to go through the trenches of Sea Law, and they're trying to expunge almost every single sort of different strat they can. So, with that being said, I'm going to give it to Revival, and it's going to be a 2-0. So with that all being said here, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to thank you all for staying the pre-show with us. I want to throw it over to our casters, Beatdown Boulevard and Travesty to take us into game number 1. Let's get it.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's fantastic to see you all. Shout outs to the desk. You look fantastic tonight, especially you, Ravishing. We missed you. We noticed you were gone last night. Don't think we didn't notice. But with that being said, I'm Travesty. I haven't been here for a week. I am super pumped. I have an entire week's worth of energy I have to let out here today. And there's only one person that they could set me up with that could match me here today. It's my ever so brilliant co-caster. He's off of a place right off Ocean Avenue. It is the man himself, Beatdown. How you doing, man?
Me? Okay, well, first of all, I'm really appreciative. I thought you were talking about someone else, matching your energy. Travi, you were like one of the most hypest people I've had the pleasure of working with. So I really do hope I can give that energy justice. But yeah, we got a banger matchup. Speaking of justice, so I really do believe that we're going to do the same with that match. I'm really excited to see Bay State and Revival really come through here, especially because One, we've definitely seen a lot of both of these teams, even on broadcast throughout the regular season. But the thing is, too, there's a couple of question marks going on for both of these teams. I think the big thing for me, especially on Bay State side, is how, well, over the last couple, I think Nightstar put it up perfectly, actually. It's like a box of chocolates. You don't really know what you're going to get with them until they load into the lobby more often than not. But now we're starting to see some consistency. Like they said on the desk, this is the roster they're going to move forward with. And you and I were talking about it beforehand. The fact that, yeah, they've been mishmashing a little bit with their rosters. But if we just look at their bottom lane in Victrix and Sword Blue, it's definitely the most consistent combination that they've gotten for themselves. Of course, we know Serenok, who's had some really good performances in general, whether it's control mages, whether it's that pocket pick Xerath that they love to sneak in on some of those R5s. So I do think this is probably going to be the best version of Bay State we see today.
It could very possibly be. We have to see because, as Nightstar also said, it's still a box of chocolates, right? Sometimes you get
True.
that truffle. And it's so delicious.
You don't- whoa, you
It's
don't like
great. You
chocolates?
put more
Okay,
chocolate
okay.
inside of the chocolate, and it's fantastic.
Uh-huh.
But then you
You're
bite
right.
into one, and there's coconut inside of it, and everybody hates coconut. It's terrible. That's
What?
the worst. It's the worst of the
All
chocolates
right,
in
I
the
gotta
box.
go. I gotta go.
But what I'm just saying, like, it is one of those things where
Just
you never know what you're
gotta
getting,
walk. I
man.
gotta
And
take a walk.
but talking about a team that has been very much so talked about, Revival is a team that has been making waves as they came along onto the scene. A lot of people having high hopes for this team going in. Consistency is another thing that we have to look at for them because they're kind of seeing their communication being shooken up. We have a new bot lane that's in. And with that comes with a whole new voice, a whole new set of voices that you have to kind of work into the communication and how these players like to move around and talk with one another in the middle of the game.
Yeah, and I believe Kari was the one who mentioned on the desk, of course, that new bot lane being Chukis and Lobos. They were playing together on GVU. They definitely have worked with each other before, certainly work well together too. So at the very least, that lane pairing rather, is really good for them. And this has been going on for a couple weeks, if I'm remembering correctly here. So I think there has been enough time for Revival to really kind of get these gears moving, get that communication system set up. Of course, we're going to have to see how it plays out on the night because I think why Revival is going to be good, and if you saw in the chat, I even said personally, I think they'll win 2-1, is because I think the core and what makes that team really good is still here today. That's Sudsy, Cyber, and Concept, all very good players. I think a lot of credit has to be given to Sudsy too. I do think he's like mildly underrated in the fact that a lot of what Revival does early, middle, and late is through him. Cyber, great jungler, needs Sudsy to win out in that mid lane matchup, needs that priority so that Cyber can be that aggressive player that we know and can usually perform very well on. And of course, Concept, very flexible player, can play strong side, can play weak side, has been playing very well generally too. And you got to imagine they're going to kind of focus getting their best picks on their mid and top lane for that exact reason.
Yeah, and I think that works out too because talking with some of the teams here, we do know that the bot side of Revival very open, right? Like you're looking at these players to be open, which does give you a lot of opportunities in draft. We'll be curious to see, as I believe we'll have Revival on the blue side starting everything off, which gives you quite a different amount of diversity to be able to pick up, especially with the first pick. So opens us up for a big slew of solutions. And I love the thing that you talked about there, Beatdown. You talked about the fact that there's key components, and I think that's a big thing for both of these teams because unlocking those key components to your team, unlocking that win condition is very similar for both sides, some would say, as you kind of want your mid lane to kind of pop off and be able to assist the jungler. And both of these mid laners, they've been popping off globally, it feels like, with some of the champions they've been rolling out with.
That's right. And the thing too with in general with this mid lane matchup, I think that's going to be a I guess contested. They do share a lot of champions between Sudsy and Serenok, but of course they do have some of the few pocket picks that the other doesn't play. Being on red side, I imagine, and in fact, I would also highly recommend that Bay State save that R5 for the mid, unless mid is picked early, of course. Then, of course, you can switch things up a little bit. But giving Saranoc that counter pick, in my opinion, is going to be a really important part, especially for Bay State trying to start off on the right foot here in game 1.
Yeah, I think starting off with the momentum is a very big thing. A lot of people, when we're talking about like a best of 3, right? If you're able to start off on the right foot, there's so many things that go right for you. And since both of these teams are kind of playing around with components that have been shifting around, Bay State have been shifting around their roster the entire year. The box of chocolates, literally, you do not know what chocolate is where. They do not have any names on anything. But on the other side, of course, we do have that mix up with the bot lane. So there is that shift there as well. So we have a lot of questions that are going to go into the series to be answered, and getting that first win, getting that confidence when you have so many things moving on. Yes, you've locked in a roster finally to be consistent right when we get the playoffs. But both of these teams are going to want to start off with a dub to make sure that they can inspire confidence, and something that could be shaky for some of these players individually.
And one thing I always liked about, especially where you have players who have those not quite cheesy, but those sort of not quite meta pocket picks, like Saranoc, Xerath always comes to mind. If you look at Barrage and APA, is Aurelion Soul is another one that I always think about. And I love those pocket picks in best of 3s in particular, because one, the fact that they play those picks so well and end up leading a team to a win kind of forces you to have to ban away that pocket pick champion as well. So I would like to, again, if there's a Xerath game, I think Saranoc and the rest of Bay State should go towards it, force the ban away game 2, and that would actually, especially with how many really strong champions there are in the current patch, especially if you look at mid and bot lane, that could get Bay State to do really well in the future games.
Yeah, I feel like that's a big thing to take note of. If I see an ASOL, by the way, my jaw's going to hit the ground. I'm just going to put that out there. You said it, and I was just like, if I see it, every time I see an ASOL, they go 0 and 10. Unfortunately, they're always on my team. And it's a very interesting thing to take note of. But yeah, hey, listen, you should see the things I said in the solo queue chat, all right?
Oh,
but
come on, man.
It's always the 0 and 10s. Come on, Beatdown. But
game crabby.
But I'm very curious to see exactly what the mid laners are going to be able to pull out, because you talked about it earlier, unlocking the junglers, making sure these junglers are able to be comfortable and be able to be unlocked for success. A lot ever since we've gotten into this season, there's been an ongoing narrative. Jungle OP. The answer to that, maybe a wee bit. Nobody's ever said no, it's not. Everybody's been like, it might be a little overtuned, a little bit, but it's an over-rounding thing. So when you get to empower your jungle, think about all the champions that are in the jungle to play currently right now. You have carry threats like Hecarim that are out there, Nidalee, Talia, and then you look over, Udyr. It's just like it's the options are endless right now inside the jungle.
And that's why you see more often than not a lot of first wave bans end up going towards junglers, especially with the prevalence of picks like Rel, Seraphine. Now Tristana is garnering a lot of popularity for absolutely perfectly acceptable reasons. And I think that's why, and then the thing that's interesting too is once a lot of those meta junglers go, then you start to see what's left. What can these junglers still kind of pull out in this situation here? And then when we look to someone like Cyber who can play that Kha'Zix, there's a game for that too. I'd like to see it.
Yeah, I'd like to see it as well. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to wait. We gave you a little bit of a tease. We got you guys, everybody's riled up. They're ready to go. They're at their eyes peeled, a little drop of drool coming off of the lip. Everybody is in anticipation of the game. But we're going to send it to a short break, as we do seem like we have some technical difficulties inside the lobby between the two teams. So we will be back here shortly. So be sure not to touch that browser.
go to the show last night.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. We are going to be heading into the draft here very shortly. But, beat down, me and you, we were munching on some chocolate, and all this other stuff. And something came up, we got that piece of chocolate that we just didn't know how to identify. It was a piece of chocolate that we haven't talked about. And the reason why we had that break was actually because we have a masterclass of a swap here inside of the anticipated roster.
That's right. Once again, Bay State have played the role of the box of chocolates, and we really didn't know what we were going to get until we got into draft. Because here we are in the draft, and it turns out it is going to be Devil DeGray in the jungle and Bajani in the top lane for Bay State College. They really love to keep us on our toes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you like chocolate, because we are going to be getting into this. Of course, become a connoisseur. But, man, oh man, we are going to be seeing what these two teams got in store for us. We have been sitting here salivating over the thought of what the ban is going to look like, and we're going to be able to finally start to see this. First ban of the night.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. A lot of the first wave bans are definitely going to be the OPs, your Olafs, your Lilias, your Seraphines, and the stuff and the like. So nothing too crazy. I'm curious if Revival are going to maybe.
Oh, yeah, it's yeah.
Oh.
So beat guys.
Oh, I'm back.
They
Sorry,
tried to get you
that.
now.
I know, but it's okay.
I was scared.
They can't ban me. It's okay, Travis. I'm here, and I'll probably never leave again.
Probably.
But,
Don't let 'em ban
again,
you, please.
Yeah, and I was going to say, speaking of respect bans, they do end up taking away the Kha'Zix right away. It makes sense. Cyber, literally #1 Kha'Zix player, full stop. So it is pretty nice to take away a super serious and at times oppressive comfort pick.
Yeah, and I like the Zoe as well. Is a disruptive champion, and if you don't have a champion in your champion pool to deal with, it can be very annoying. While on the other side, Bay State going to go ahead and take away the Senna here.
Yeah, Zoe's a weird champion because they're a player in the wrong hands. She looks pretty useless, but in the right hands, it just feels like there isn't anything you can do. We've seen examples of that in pretty much every level of play. So if it's something you don't already deal with, especially if Serenok plays it, take it right off the board. Senna is another pick we've seen Revival go to from time to time, and also still quite strong, even though for some reason it does seem the pick priority's gone down a little bit. I have a feeling Tristana has something to do with that.
There's a couple power picks that are open. You were talking about it earlier. Seraphine is actually open for once here. Already being hovered, and it's insta-lot, baby.
Yeah, I have no idea why she's suddenly fallen in priority. I think all the things that are great about her are, they're still pretty great, Travi. You could run her still in 3 different positions, mid, bot, whether it's the AD or the AD role and the support role. And it still lanes quite well. Amazing team fight ultimate in the Encore. Great thing to pick up right away.
Yeah, I love it. But over on the other side, a power pick of its own lot, Dan Hecarim getting grabbed in. A jungler that has just risen up in priority as patch after patch after patch goes through. And a comfort pick for Devil. We'll have to see if what Bay State locks in beside the Hecarim.
And the interesting thing, too, is I think part of the reason Hecarim has just kind of risen back up in prevalence, of course, was always quite good in this particular meta. But now with this not resurface, but surfacing of a build where you go turbo chem tank and just go pure tank Hecarim and just become the pure essence of speed is in some situations very oppressive, and I'm curious to see if Devil the Grey, because I haven't seen him do it in the past, will go for that route this game as well. And Rel, of course, another one of those really strong picks being grabbed for Bay State as well, and Udyr's coming up. Big surprise. He's open.
Yeah, Bay State, they're saying horse champ over here, Revival. They said, all right, we'll just lock in somebody who has 4 different animal forms. We'll outnumber you on animals, but another power pit locked in. Tristana, Revival, having the flets after flets for themselves. Bay looking to answer with a Caitlyn here.
That would be interesting, but I do like Kaisa a lot better, and hopefully that's the route they're going to go with here. I also like the Revival have grabbed themselves with Tristana, so now there is still that bit of flex potential there. Could go bot, could go mid, and now Revival, this is them not really giving away all of their cards, and it is going to make this next wave of bans a little tougher for Bay State because they're not sure what's what just yet. You got to imagine they're going to focus on the top lane pool and try and guarantee some taking away some strong picks there from Concept.
Now, when we were talking before the break, because that was almost a distant memory, right? We did have quite the break that we had to go through there. You were talking about possibly saving your last pick for Serenok here, and I still think that's the case, right? You see all this flexibility that can possibly happen. But I have to say, the Tristana mid lane pick, that could definitely threaten a lot of the mages that Serenok likes to play inside of the mid lane. And it would be curious to see if that could be something that's a concern for Bay State as they go into this next pick for themselves after the ban phase in.
It's going to be tough because, like we were talking about earlier, Sudsy is that kind of player who, through control of that mid lane, does enable his team and especially Cyber a lot more. So I wouldn't be surprised if we just throw that Tristana in the mid lane for that exact reason. I don't think she has any bad matchups. You're almost guaranteed to auto push the wave constantly. That priority is going to be so nice for Sudsy to get these roam timers to assist Cyber on other parts of the map here. And no, that's a hover. I'm not talking about hovers.
Yeah, it's just a hover coming in, but a lock in for the Orianna. So Orianna getting locked in with a Tristana Seraphine being shown. So just locking in something comfortable and stable for the side of Bay State. What will Revival answer with?
Does seem like it's going to be... Nope, I said I wouldn't talk about hovers. I'm going to abstain. The Orianna makes sense. Seen a lot of playtime recently for Serenok on that, and I really like this ball delivery service in the Hecarim. So there is already a really strong team fight composition here grabbed for Bay State. The only thing really missing would just be a strong top laner, perhaps, that they could grab for themselves. Maybe they seem like they want to save that counter pick for Concept in the top side. And I think that's honestly a pretty good decision, especially because if you want that control mage that is playing more for the team fights, I think Serenok's been good on Orianna, so that makes a lot of sense here. Now, the question is going to be, what's Revival going to put Concept on this time around? It looks like we got our answer. It is going to be the Gnar.
Yeah, it's a champion that's been getting blind picked around the world competitively, and it's such a strong champion to be able to lock. So great on them to go ahead and lock that in for themselves. On the other side, they're hovering a couple champions, but I'm very curious. What do you want inside of the Gnar? And it looks like Camille is the answer.
So that's actually a pretty good pick, I think, mostly because you want to kind of play around those Gnar Rage Bar timers. If we can see Devil the Grey show up in the top side earlier on, like close to or right once he ends up hitting level 6, there is a lot of opportunity to shut down Concept early, because if you do get Gnar when he's mini, of course, especially in the first minutes of the game, down a lot of grass procs, he has one of the lowest base stats in the game. It is very possible to punish and put behind, but that still won't take away the team fight application that Revival's gotten for themselves in that Gnar pick. As long as they can play around this Rage Bar correctly outside of the laning phase, things should still be okay for them. And one thing we praise Revival a lot over these last couple of weeks, at this point, like months of competitive play in the amateur scene, is that they're a very good team fighting team. They understand their win cons. They understand the focus on their team, who they need to be playing for, who they need to be peeling for very, very well. And as long as the comm issues we were kind of worried about don't really show up now that Lobos and Chukis are playing, I think they're going to be able to play through this composition in the team fight setting quite well.
I love the fact that you talk about them too, because I can't help but talk about this bot lane, right? Because we're looking at a Seraphine in the bot side going together with Thresh. And it's such an interesting thing to see, like an aggressive laner get paired together with Seraphine, but it makes perfect sense. Seraphine's a very capable laner, and especially against Kai'Sa, makes a lot of sense. I'm looking forward to seeing how these pairs go. We've seen Kai'Sa rail a lot throughout Amateur and Academy in this entire season. They've been a constant stable. Seraphine Thresh coming in. Thresh has been getting more priority, and it's going to be interesting to see how that remains, and especially with this mid lane matchup kind of thrown into the mix, so Tristana versus Orianna. I'm personally really excited for this bottom half of the map.
Yeah, as am I, and I think what's really going well for Bay State College is that although both teams have definitely drafted for team fighting, I like Bay State's just a little bit more because of the just absolute wombo potential they have when you think of things like that Magnet Storm, like the Onslaught of Shadows, and of course the ever constant shockwave from the Orianna that Serenok's going to be piloting in this game. You got to imagine that's a lot of CC, a lot of damage you're going to be able to put down in some of these team fights when used correctly. And if they can punish Concept early, like I was talking about, Bijani will actually be able to be that side lane threat, as Camille is that kind of double threat there with side lane presence if she's got a lead, and of course the backline access, surpassing the front line, whether it's through flanks, very good uses of the hook shot, potentially a hook shot flash, to try and shut down some of these carries.
I do want to talk about the team fighting ability, though, over on the side of Revival, right? There's some nice things that go with Bay State, but the team fighting prowess that actually comes out from this Revival composition is actually very big to talk about. Yeah, you kind of have to play around the Mega Gnar to make a true engage happen for your team, but you got Thresh, you got Seraphine, and you got Udyr. Those are some pretty insane pick mechanic champions that you're able to grab in. They're able to grab somebody, and all of a sudden the fight is a 4v5 very quickly. So I'm actually really going to be keeping an eye on Revival, especially how they play around the vision game, right? Like, this is a team that's actually very scary to play in the fog of war if you don't see them, because they can catch you just like that.
And on that note too, I think the early game is going to be really important here for Revival, because of course Cyber's playing that Udyr, who does have a lot of potential to make plays early. Of course, we all know the meme Flash Bear Slap. If Cyber gets a good opportunity to gank pretty much anybody on the side of Bay State College here, there's a lot of agency. You have that mid priority with the Tristana. You have a solid lane in Thresh and Seraphine, because one, Seraphine's going to be able to actually apply pressure to the wave, and of course things get a little hairy, Thresh with that ever-loved Dark Passage is a really good way to peel as well, and I think that's a big reason why we're seeing Thresh come through as well. It is that sense of safety in the lane, and of course the potential to make plays in other lanes, and that's kind of my last point here before we get into the game. Both of these supports do need to be active on the map. Even though there's more agency in the early game for Revival, Baystate can still make plays through Sword Blue, through this Rel, roaming, finding these roam timers off resets in the early game, and being able to make places and generate leads for his team.
Man, you're talking about safety over here. I don't want safety. Throw that to the side. Dark Passage. I want to see the lantern get thrown backwards. Throw a Hail Mary back into your own jungle. Land the death sentence and throw it on in there. Get in the midst of it with this Udyr. And you know, we were talking about before we went to our break, this bot lane that we're seeing from Revival, right? They're new here. And there's an interesting part of communication that goes into the midst here. I really, really want to see if they're able to communicate with Cyber, if they're able to bring this Udyr into the bot lane, because if Udyr is able to get this Seraphine Thresh lane ahead, that's a lot of rotation value. That's a lot of team fighting that you're going to be building up, and it's going to be juicy.
And even if you do kind of fall behind in that laning phase, playing someone like Seraphine, you have the big team fighting ultimate, the Encore, whose range extends if you get through allies or enemy champions. So that's a really big tool too that Revival can play around here. And when I say I like Baystate's team fight rather in the later stage of the game a little better, that doesn't mean Revival are slacking. They have tools, they have ways that they can win the game, and it's all going to be on, or a lot of that, is going to be on Lobos to get those big ultimates here. That and playing through concept of X, monitoring that Narvar and making sure to kind of position yourself well for these team fights around it is going to be very crucial here for Revival.
Yeah, and as you can see here, we are in the game. It's been a long time coming, but we've made it here. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're just now joining us, you are joined here by Travesty and Beatdown. We're ready for this match, and oh man, there's a lot of spice and everything nice in every single one of these lanes. And some of these lanes, a little volatile, right? I do want to point out real quick, looking through the Masters, we do see Sudsy is going press the attack, not the Hail of Blades that a lot of Tristanas have been running as of late. So a little bit of a difference there, running the older Keystone that a lot of people have been running.
That's very likely because, well, one, it's something Tristana players seem to be going back to lately, as well as you want Hail of Blades because you are usually trying to trade aggressively, get early kills in your lane. PTA tells me Sudsy is playing for later on. You are going to have, especially with how Hecarim players seem to build very commonly these days with that tanky build, the turbo chem tank. Between that and Sword Blue, I think being able to give yourself and your teammates that extra bit of damage in the later stages in those team fights is going to be really important.
By the way, just got to say, chem tank, one of my, probably my favorite item out of all the new items, just because it's always fun to go fast. It's always good to have a need for speed, but it has brought out a lot of these champions here, and we've got two champions here who have a need for speed here, both of them running Phase Rush on the Udyr and the Hecarim as well. I have to see exactly how they'll be able to impact these lanes, especially as they do have a couple good gank targets, some good gank assists in some of these lanes for both of the junglers. So we'll be curious to see what their priorities will be.
I think the thing that's really nice for Sudsy too in this early game is that Hecarim, not an early game ganking jungler, can't have as much impact pre-6, especially against a Tristana who's going to be able to just rocket jump away from that situation altogether for the most part. So I think Sudsy is going to have a lot of time to run this lane for these first couple of minutes, and I want to see what Revival do with that. You can already see he's starting to get the push on here onto Serenok. They've been trading back and forth a little bit, and I want to see how Cyber uses this. But wait a second.
Yeah, he got a buffer onto the rocket jump, a flash away, but it's not enough. Devil finds first blood in the mid lane.
And that's actually huge because you probably don't expect that early gank to come through if you're Sudsy. More than that, you flash to try and get away but die anyway. So Sudsy will TP back to lane, but suddenly he is a lot more vulnerable now. Devil de Grey could come back and make basically make that repeat gank come through. We could see Sword Blue make an appearance mid lane. These next 5 minutes are going to be quite dangerous here. And now we see Cyber answering back, stealing some camps top side because of that early gank. And yeah, he's going to get himself a little bit of a lead, but I am going to need to see a little more than that.
Yeah, and you do see the early back from Devil as well here. So getting ready for that Deadman's, as you were talking about. King the Analyst, also a prophet in his spare time, is beat down, knowing exactly what they're going to build, as Johnny being a pest to the Zootier here, making sure he wastes as much of his time as possible.
Yeah, I think that's ideal. You know, he's going to
Ooh.
leave. Wait a second.
Yeah, the Seraphine got jumped on too here. Not going to connect with anything else, but the death sentence will be all she wrote for Sword Blue. The Ignite ticking away. Will it burn enough? But it doesn't shred the last bit of HP. Sword Blue makes it out just barely alive.
Yeah, that was touch and go for a little bit here, and Vitrix forced to use the heal to make sure Sword Blue does live, but overall, not a whole lot lost. Flash is still available. Oh, Sudsy.
Yeah, hey, look, you talked about it, man, over and over and over again. Sudsy, welcome to your lane. It is nothing but full of pain here, and it's a rough time for Sudsy inside this lane. And Concept even uses teleport to try and help.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. It didn't channel in time for anything to really come of it, so he's just going to stay for this wave, make sure that it's not lost to the tower, and he's going to have to go back topside. Problem is, Bajani hasn't used his TP, and the fact that he's shoving this next wave uncontested means he can go for a back, potentially even a cheater, and just walk back to lane, not actually have to commit the teleport, opening himself up to cross map plays. Now what's going to happen with Cyber here? They do know that he's on this dragon.
Yeah, beautiful use of the Kaisa there. They send out the W, don't catch anything. They said, hey, the dragon is not where it normally is. So this is looking like it's Bay looking to grab this, and that TP advantage you were talking about. Easy as can be.
Yeah, and that TP alone is going to guarantee the first dragon to come through. Seems like Bay State not interested in actually trying to 50-50 it, so they are going to get Bajani to come through just to make sure everything goes well. And he's just going to walk back to lane. Everything's all good. He might lose a little bit, but actually does get level 6 just from the XP he's leached from Serenok's lane. And overall, really good start here for Bay State.
And you can see Chucky's trying to take advantage of having the Seraphine in the bot lane. Doesn't need to be there too long, but
I love this.
Ultimatum, beautiful. Let's abuse the mini Gnar here, Bejawani says. And it's going to be slowly but surely. One more kick is all she needs, and that will be Bejawani finding it. Going to be able to use that hook shot to get out of harm's way, and it is just Bejawani getting out like a smooth criminal in the top lane.
Well said, and it's honestly just that simple. The fact that he shows up top and like that, and right as the mini Gnar comes through. Oh, hold on a second.
Devil is looking for this play here. You got the horse duo here looking to see if they can collapse onto something, but nobody is looking to hard engage onto anything. Lantern thrown on out. Cyber not going to be looking to click that anytime soon, and it will just be a disengage between the two teams here.
And again, overall, Bay State off to a really good start here. They get first dragon. They're doing a really good job at trying to punish Cyber whenever he shows on other ends of the map. You saw Devil Degree try and go for those Raptors, although they do end up keep getting them off them. I love these attempts coming out from that team. Now, I want to see how they're going to play for this Rift Herald. Are they going to have Invictrix and Sword Blue reset, move to the bot lane, rotate Bejani to the top, or to the bot rather, and make that play? Or are they just going to try and use the priority they now have in mid and potentially even in top to just be able to take it really easily without having to rotate?
Yeah, and honestly, this has been nice to see from the side of Bay State, right? They've been proactive. They've been really dictating the pace of a lot of this, and you can look at that being Devil being really strong and confident on this Hecarim pick here. So a lot of this really good stuff from Bay, and even though we had a sudden roster swapper, they don't seem shaken at all.
Devil Gray is gonna once again just continuing on with this counter jungling, snagging camps, is actually gonna gift it away to his mid laner. That's a pro tip for you junglers out there. Why give your mid laner your blue when you could give it the enemy's blue?
Yeah, push it no closer. Say, hey, this is a leash for you. Go hurry up and take it. Devil trying to force it down Serenok's throat there.
Just making sure Cyber can't do anything about it here. And it's looking like Rift Herald is not quite the play. Instead, Serenok does want to spend that nice little chunk of gold he's gotten for themselves here. But overall, still, things going quite well. You can see Vijani is, well, I want to say slow pushing this way, but it seems like he's medium pushing, we'll call it, and could be setting up for a dive on concept.
I love that, by the way. There's different ways, you know. You got your medium rare, you know.
Yeah, the medium rare shuttle. If you know, you know.
Yeah. If you know, you do know, indeed. As we're getting close to that 10-minute mark here, Herald still has not been touched just yet. Neither team really has set up too hard around it. And even though Bay does have these 3 kills, not a huge gold lead in favor of themselves just yet.
No, but they definitely have a lot of tempo going for them here. There isn't a whole lot Revival are able to do currently. It seems like Cyber is just being watched on all fronts, and because of how well Bay State is tracking him, it's really hard to farm. Yeah, he's ahead
Ooh.
2 camps, but look at this Hecarim, 2-0 at the moment here. And now off of this reset, Devil the Grey actually just seems like he's power farming and isn't going to make his way topside. But as I say that, he starts to veer upwards and maybe he wants to gain concept.
Yeah, and I also think it's very interesting. You've got tier 2 boots on the Udyr, and on the other side, hey, this rush to Chem Tank, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's a very interesting duality of man here coming out between these 2 junglers.
Yeah, the tier 2 boots is definitely going to come in handy because of the Hecarim, because of the Camille. It's going to be helpful later against Kaisa. I think overall that's a really good buy from Cyber, just to give him that bit of survivability. And of course, the base stats on Udyr. That's why he can build so tanky and hurt so much. It just doesn't feel fair, and that's because it's not.
You know, to be fair, we can say the same about Camille, right? That true damage on those legs hurts, man. All right. Sometimes I'm like, wow, fair and balanced champion just all in me
Yeah.
for all of my HP at level 6. Feels great, man.
Yeah, you love to see it. It's just Cho'Gath R on a Q ability is perfectly acceptable. I just kind of think
Perfectly
I
balanced.
don't care anymore. Yeah, as all
Yeah.
things should be.
But Sword Blue finding out that he's gonna have to leave his horse behind and dismount, get away from the action as Revival looking to try and steal some of that tempo back for themselves there, and doing a great job of it, securing so much vision around this dragon pit. It has been started as well.
This is kind of a bold call. I think they want to pull it out, but I think they're trying to look and turn here. No, they're actually just going to burst
Ooh,
it. See if they can stop this
Definite
engage.
connected. The onslaught of shadows into the back line, but Serenok
missed
did
it.
sombrero on the Orianna ultimate. Sword Blue taking a huge amount of damage. Cyber is on the bat side while this all happening. Concept getting a solo kill in the top lane onto the Camille there as the Camille tried to interrupt the teleport coming in from the Gnar. Now it is a 4v4 strictly down here in the bot side, but Ocean Drake just going to get reset.
Yeah, it's looking like both teams are going to back off. A lot of their big team fight ultimates were used. You see, no kills came from that onslaught of shadows. Nothing came from the shockwave. And same could be said about the encore. Just missing Serenok. Otherwise, that could have been a very different skirmish. But overall, that favors Bay State. You keep them off of the dragon. You still keep your 1 dragon lead. And here we go. But Johnny is aggressively TPing.
Yeah, aggressively TP in there, but Mega Gnar is there. What will be the answer? He doesn't have the ability to Gnar out, but he does have Fist of Fury and Concept. Said, bring it back. I'll send you back to the fountain in a body bag.
And that was going to be tough. Concept has no TP, so he can't join this fight on the bottom side, but that's a big hook.
Devil is going to get jumped onto. We do see the bots get laid on out. Cyber is going to find a heaping amount of damage. Is going to be awaiting him. 2 kills going over to Revival as Sudsy. Rocket jumps to safety. Seraphine's over on the side. Drake will be reset here, but Revival finding all the advantages.
Yeah, this one's tough. Just by the skin of their teeth, they're starting to come through here in some of these skirmishes, but still no dragon gain for themselves here. However, they do have Concept, who's really starting to come online in this top lane matchup. Solo kills Bijani not once, but twice. And the second time with, I think, 2/3 HP after the TP, no less. So that makes that one a little bit tougher. Serenok,
Yeah.
I gotta be ulting just so he can clear the wave.
Listen, his last ult was on himself, so he had to get it out of his system, right? He had to ult something.
Yeah, fair. Okay.
So That's how it goes too. There's a rule of thumb. There's a rule of League of Legends, and it's do not fight Mega Gnar when he's giant. And a little bit of a mistime from Chucky's there on the death sentence. Forgot to use the correct punctuation, and Serenok will not find himself stunned up and locked up.
And when I said Revival have to play around Concept's Rage Bar, that also does apply to Bay State. And you saw the perfect example of that top side here. Now, looking to set up for the second dragon is Bay State, and it seems like they're just going to be able to get it this time around. Onslaught of Shadows is back online. Yeah. Magnet Storm going to be on soon. I don't know if they can play for the steal here. I think they got to let this go.
They're looking for it. Smite does come out, and it will go over the Bay State. Third time was the charm indeed.
And I like that you even see Bajani actually started walking down from topside just in case a fight broke out. So overall, Bajani, who's down 50 CS right now to Concept. Yes. I just realized that. Oh my God. But at this point, he's playing for the team. And still not going to be that side lane threat you might hope for when you pick up that Camille, just with how strong Concept is becoming. But still, the backline access you get from that hook shot, the way you can isolate squishy members with that Hextech ultimatum should still prove useful to Bay State in some of these team fights to come.
You saw that too, right?
What did I see? No.
Do we talk about the fact that Concept just flashed inside of the pit?
It never happened.
It never happened? Okay, I'm making sure that, it's just that technical glitch, right? It never happened.
Yeah, of course. Concept wouldn't flash.
Yeah, definitely will not show a slow-mo replay of him using his flash ever. None of that will happen.
I actually wish we would. That would be so funny. That's the kind of content we need, everyone. Oh, wait a minute.
That is indeed, but this is a different kind of piece of content. We're going to use all the ultimates that we can against Concept. Onslaught of Shadows, 3 for 3 here. Concept finds himself going down, and that is a shutdown going over the Devil.
Travi, I don't want to be that guy.
Be it. Let me hear it. Lay it on me.
Well, if Concept had Flash, he might have lived there.
Man, you know what? Highly likely. They used 3 ultimates there and he still lived, right? Like he was still living at the end of 3 of them. So I think he might be onto something there.
Yeah, just a little bit. The Mega Gnar stats are kind of nice. If there was only a way you could teleport instantly on a short distance, like a flash, if you will, kind of ability. But regardless, that is going to end up being decent shutdown. And they are going to get the top lane tier 1 for it. Still, Revival are the ones in lead here, and they're going to probably be able to take this turret with all this pressure they have, with the Rift Herald in tow, especially with a lot of these teamfight ultimates not available. Bay State just kind of have to watch and try to clear waves as quickly as they can.
Yeah, I'm really looking for this team to be able to do this, right? You have a Tristana. This is the Demolisher champion here, as you do see. Right. Rival just playing very aggressive around this mid lane here, and the side of Bay have to respond to this in kind. They have to deal with this, or else it can get out of control. And Revival. I do want to say real quick too, right? We were talking about the kills being in favor of Bay not too long ago. Revival just caught up in kills not too long ago, and the gold is in favor of them by 2K, which actually speaks quite a bit to what Revival has been doing when they do get these kills and when they get advantages.
And a lot of that does end up being on Concept and the fact that he has a massive CS lead and even a kill lead on Bajani here, who's struggling in the isolated matchup, but overall, I think Bay are still in an okay spot. Again, they have a lot of team fighting tools to play with. All of these ultimates are ready to go. And you got to imagine that they are already doing so, setting up this vision on that bottom side of the map once again.
Yeah, Concept is in a tricky spot. We'll be safe. I just noticed something. I was looking through the items, right? As I do. Do you notice what the Seraphine has bought here?
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hold on. I know what we were all expecting, but in fairness to Revival, Lobos is the only source of AP damage.
Mhm.
So, and especially with the tanky members, again, you look at Devil de Grey, you look at Sword Blue on this Hecarim and Rel respectively. You do need some of that serious damage to tanks, and the percent held you get from Leandres does make a lot of sense. So I know normally we do see the Moonstone, but in this context, I understand.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's what they're doing. They're looking to optimize, and that is another thing about Seraphine that can be very interesting. You have the Moonstone, you have the Imperial Mandate if you want to go it, and there's also the Leandres that you can go for here if you just want that extra burn to go through some of these tanks. Have to see if
That's
it will
right.
come into effect and mulch down some of these HP bars for the team here. Be curious to see how the Seraphine actually builds through the continuation with the point of Seraphine being the only magic damage threat here.
Serenok has TP'd, but Bay State don't actually have control over the river here. I think they actually are going to lose this dragon. They're going to be okay with it. Instead, they're going to move Devil de Grey into Cyber's jungle, snag what camps he can, and also simultaneously cover for Bajani, who's doing some serious damage on that mid-tier 2 turret. Nobody's there to answer him except for Sudsy, who's only just moved there. And look at how
Look at that
low that
tower.
turret is.
You gotta give a shout out to Devil's positioning there too, right? Farming inside that quadrant of the jungle
Yep.
is such a smart move. If anybody takes an unsafe route, it's punishable. But Udyr is finding himself getting
No.
punished as well. Locked into the Hextech ultimatum. The shockwave hit misses yet again. But Inventress is in here and he's in the midst of it all. Finding himself one kill, but the Tristana finding more.
Sudsy
The
has the
answer
jumps.
back from Revival is coming through. Sudsy looking to try and pop off in this fight, but
Inventress
not
is
gonna
so low.
be able
Oh, they
to
got
find the
him.
final bit. But the Leandre's burn will be just enough.
Yeah, and that one was really scrappy. Sudsy flashing further forward after that jump to try and get that extra damage. And it does end up helping with Lobos getting that kill with the Leandre's burn. And we are going to see the replay. A lot of stuff going on here. Cyber stuck in that Hextech ultimatum. And that shockwave not going where it needs to. That's kind of the big takeaway in this fight, if you ask me, Travi. The fact that that shockwave goes onto nobody on the side of Revival, especially in such a tight area, tells me this fight could have gone extremely differently. But instead, Revival do once again come out on top.
Yeah, Revival coming out on top in regards to that fight there. Something I do need to talk about real quick. Serenar, the shockwave back up, we can see it. So far, shockwaves, I believe it's been 0 for 3 at this current moment in time inside of fights. So right now, Serenok has been wearing the Orianna ult more than he's actually been throwing it at anybody. They need to take some lessons from Kung Lao from Mortal Kombat. Start throwing that hat at people and start laying out some damage for his team. Because I feel like Bay, we're only seeing a partial amount of how their team fights can go. That Shockwave is an extra dimension that's unknown.
You're right. They should be winning more of these. They should be winning more of these fights, Travi. And it's just unfortunate that just some mechanical misplay in those instances does mean they do lose it out. They are still going to grab this bottom tier 1 turret, but they do seem like they are losing on the top side as well, because you see Revival are spending a lot more time in that area trying to pressure this mid tier 2.
And, talking about pressure, I do want to take this moment to talk about these teams are under a lot of pressure too, right? We are in the quarterfinals, a single elim. So, you don't want to be the team that ends up on a boulevard of broken dreams here.
Right.
And you want to be able to find yourself in it. There's a lot of pressure that goes into game 1 here. While both teams want to find success and build their confidence up, but these teams are got to be a little bit nervous, especially since we did have that long delay at the very beginning. The mental state's going to be a very curious state as this game continues on forward, with both these teams being very evenly matched.
That's right, although the gold, certainly not even. Revival, if I recall, is couple thousand gold ahead, definitely not the 55k you see on the screen, but it's they're a couple thousand gold behind. I think it was 35k last time we checked in, but Revival overall still boasting quite a strong lead. You're starting to see some of these item breakpoints come through, especially towards Sudsy. Once that second item comes through, probably going to be that rapid fire cannon, is going to offer a lot more poke for the side of Revival with that range and that ability to get more damage off if you are running people down.
Yeah, absolutely. Once we get the gold graph fixed up a bit, it will be a different story. But Soy Blue gonna find himself victim of the same old, same old. Good play that came out from Chucky there, but didn't secure the kill. Yeah, it's just that potential here. Yet again, Devson, it's connecting. Yet again, Chucky's is on point.
Yeah, Chukis has been pretty good so far this game on the Thresh. Really good lanterns, really good hooks as well. And now, I like it this time around, Revival aren't really relinquishing the vision control over the river. The first 10-15 minutes or so, Bay State were in control on that bottom side of the map, but now with their power, Revival are confident moving in here, pushing out these waves, and getting control of the river. But of course, we're doing the dance that teams so often do as objectives start to come off. Mid-prio, clear vision. Oh, wait, a fight's happening.
Yeah, a fight is happening, and it is going crazy. Gonna hit a shockwave, and that is gonna be a shutdown going on over, but Sudsy is over on the side, free hitting, as Devil is in the midst of the rest of the team. Concept's gonna be able to gnaw out, but not gonna be able to do anything too crazy there. Sudsy gonna be able to follow up on that hook, and it is going to be, so far, 1-for-1 here, but Devil looking to re-engage. Just beautiful play from Chucky's. Concept is low. He's dropped down Steam to critical condition, but it will be Revival being able to limp away from this situation. Revival looking to possibly re-engage here, looking for a victim, is looking at Chucky's. Okay. Chucky's is pretty low here, is looking like a juicy little snack here. Destin is not going to be able to connect. Cloud Drake is going to get started up, and now we began a different kind of dance. Before we were doing a tango, and now it's the salsa. As all of a sudden, Revival all of a sudden have command over the Drake.
And the problem with that for Bay State is they used everything. We finally saw that a great shockwave come here for Serenok. A lot of good damage come out from all of these teamfight ultimates, but Bay State don't secure any kills. They go 1-for-1. They trade Lobos for Invictrix, and Invictrix is a lot of damage here for the squad, so of course you lose out of many. Wait a second.
They are looking for it. Shockwave gonna be hitting nobody yet again here. Serenok is currently 1-for-4 on this currently, and has been a bit unfortunate, but this gives him so much pressure on the Baron now.
Wait! They're gonna start off this Baron here, but the thing is, Sword Blue, it's getting low. The damage is quite a lot, but I think they've sniffed this out.
Yeah, they've sniffed it out. The TPs already came back from the Tristana. Camille's over on the bat side. Everybody is still so freaking low. The action is so tense as the Death Sentence connecting on that Adventure. Adventure is going to find himself going down the magic table. It's going to be enough to pull everybody else into the fight. Hector's going to be able to find a kill onto the Udyr. While Camille will be able to find a kill onto the Tristana. Concept is gnawing out and going crazy. Benjawani going to find himself going on down. But the Baron buff has been slain by Bay, and they will be able to secure it with Baron buff on 3 of their members.
But the problem with all of that, Revival take the Baron buff away from some pretty key members. One in particular, in Bajani, who, again, we talked about being that split push threat, no longer able to do so without that Baron buff in tow. Bajani, of course, still going to be committed to that side lane, but isn't going to be able to push as effectively here. We are going to see a replay of this fight. They do elect to blow up Invictrix successfully, but the Smite Steal doesn't quite come through. And because Serenok flashes over the wall, he's essentially out of this fight. And Concept, of course, Mega Gnar does mega damage. So
yeah, it's a weird thing, man. They had this dance that went on through, and I have to say, with the way everything played out there, it went from being from dance move to dance move. We went from tango to the salsa to the electric slide. It was just a back and forth of all sorts of different dances there, and it was just non-stop between these teams rotating there. So I have to see how it continues to go. Concept looking for the pick is going to be able to get a massive Gnar ult, and it's just going to be this layer upon layer on CC, but Serenok's going to finally be able to go golden. While on the backside, Seraphine is going to be jumped onto, lots of damage being laid out, but the kill goes over onto the Orianna. Adventure's trying to use the killer instinct, trying to kite this one on out, but he's not going to be able to get away from the front line of Revival. Now the next target, they knock him down 1 by 1. And Chucky's yet again playing with these huge, massive death sentences. And it is Revival all of a sudden dictating the pace yet again.
And once more, Revival come out on top in these team fights. Concept Effects starting things off with a great ultimate, turning into a really easy kill. They've had Invictrix's number all game long, Travi, and now as a result, they keep taking this AD carry out of the fight. They get themselves another inhib, and Chucky's just a little disrespect, just a little bit. I could have gone in if I wanted to, but I won't.
Yeah, Chucky's is playing so well. His death sentences have definitely been a high percentage. Serenat has the TP on the bat side. Looking for possibly something there. Shockwave is available, but is going to back up. The rest of the team was not ready for that whatsoever, and Revival will be able to get a full reset for themselves.
And then that's beautiful because Bay State's Baron power play is ineffectual. They don't actually manage to do anything with it. I don't even think they got a single tower. Instead, they lose the fight. Yeah, and they lost their mid inhibitor, which is a real feels bad, man. If anything, now Revival are resetting. It does allow Bay to get control over this dragon, the area in and around the dragon pit. But as soon as Revival get back on the map, they're going to be able to push out those waves and just start clearing out vision for themselves, especially because they can see that Bay State are trying to death rush them right now with vision that they weren't able to clear out.
Yeah, and it's getting to be an interesting situation, kind of dicey for Bay in some of these scenarios. They do need to be a little bit precautious about how they do this. Teleport coming in from the Seraphine here. They wanted to be precautious about this Drake, and they're definitely being preemptive about everything. Revival not wanting to leave anything for chance. This is the Drake that will lead up to Soul Point. But Revival just says, hey, we'll just grab mid priority here.
Yeah, that's right, and that means especially with this super minion wave coming through, they have to answer this, and with Dragon coming up in 3 seconds, they're just going to burst this one down, Travi. That's Soul Point here for Revival. The only question left is, what do Bay do? Are they going to try and take this mid-tier 2? It doesn't look like it. So the only question that's left is, do they want to fight? Meganar is going down right now, so they do need to take this Dragon and leave.
Yeah, this is actually really bad. Not many of the members were there, and now it is going to be the Seraphine caught out of position. Invictrix is going to be able to find that kill, and now it is Bay picking apart the pieces. Chucky's lands a death sentence, is trying to be the distractor in the bat line. Serenat is going to be able to find the kill onto the Thresh. It's Sudsy over in the bat trying to deal with this Camille, but is not going to be able to find success at doing so. Now Concept is the next target down, and one by one, Revival fall.
And that is a lot of crucial gold here picked up for Bay State. The fact that now they've been down the entire game. Instead, they've been able to give themselves almost a 2,000 gold lead. And with these spawn timers, Travi, they just might be able to end the game here. They have a wave coming through. This bot inhibitor is going down, and Bay State might have snuck game one away.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it is just like that. You got 5 members of the side of Bay that are up. Sword Blue is going to go down. They're answering back. Seraphine with the triple kill. It's a live performance here, baby. The Shockwave going to be able to connect. It's going to be a Quadra. Will we see the Petro? We will. As it is going to be Lobos picking up the kill and saving the game for his team.
Wait, Sudsy is TPing into the base. Revival managed to clutch out this final fight. Lost half of their Nexus's HP, and even Concept could TP if he really wanted to. Revival are gonna clutch out game one.
What the hell was that game? Down. What did we just watch?
I think we saw a tiny bit of an overextension. It looks like Bay State not respecting the spawn timers from the members of Revival. And as a result, towards the end here, especially when they finally got themselves a gold lead, when they broke that bot inhibitor, they just overstepped a little bit. And it's too bad. If they stay just a little bit longer, if they backed off after the inhib, maybe take a Nexus turret, they have all that pressure on the bottom side of the map when that Baron was coming up shortly. But instead, they think they can sneak the game, and they don't.
A pentakill to save the game for the team.
For Seraphine.
From a Seraphine, and then a TP from a Tristana to end it all within the time frame of 10 seconds, man. That is just insanity. I need some time. I gotta process this, man. I am honestly just beside myself. That looked like it was Bay State's game, but you know what the saying is? Game ain't over until your Nexus explodes. Never count anybody out. And that was a prime example of it. So, ladies and gentlemen, We are going to take ourselves a short break here. When we come back, we are going to continue down this rabbit hole of a scrapyard of a series because these two teams are scrapping against each other and provided us banger games after banger games. So be sure not to touch that browser.
The flash from Nausicaa goes for Cat getting solo. He doesn't die though. Hyper gets first blood but dies immediately afterwards. This is absolute chaos. ISU have found themselves on the wrong side of town as Drew Dozer's doing some ham stuff right now. Disconnector playing through the bush, able to survive a little bit longer. Drew Dozer's gonna commit there. Flash from Remember to save his
bit, and I want to see how Cyber uses this. But wait a second.
Yeah, he got a buffer onto the rocket jump, a flash away, but it's just the death sentence connecting on the adventure. The adventure's
No
gonna
steal.
going down the map. It's gonna be enough to pull everybody else into the fight. Hector's gonna be able to find the kill onto the Udiawada. Camille be able to find the kill onto the Tristana. Concept is gnawing out and going crazy. Benjawani gonna find himself going on down. Gonna be the Seraphine caught out of position. Adventure's gonna be able to find that kill, and now it is Bay picking apart the pieces. Chucky's lands a death sentence, is trying to be the distractor in the bat line. Serenat's gonna be able to find the kill onto the Thresh. It's Sudsy over in the back trying to deal with this Camille, but is not going to be able to find success at doing so. Now Concept is the next target down, and one that are up. Sword Blue is going to go down. They're answering back. Seraphine with the triple kill. It's a live performance here, baby. The Shockwave going to be able to connect. It's going to be a Quadra. Will we see the Petro? We will. As it is.
And welcome back to the desk, everybody. We're joined yet again by Ravish, Nightstar, and Kari Wave here. Nightstar, man.
Let's go! Bay State won! Woo!
Are you, who's gonna tell him? Do you want to tell him, Kari?
What?
Harper, roll the clip, please.
What?
Let's just. Cause look, it's the team fun
Yeah.
looks so good here, right? Like,
it's the
Frank,
last
look,
team
bro,
fight, yeah.
right? Bay
Winning?
State,
Yeah?
yeah. So tell us what's happening in this fight here, Frank.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit unhappy with one of their earlier fights in that they were playing straight up front to back. But when they play around these more chaotic settings, that's where their composition really, really shined. They're playing around the mini synergies like the Kaiserel and then like the Oriana Camille and the Hecarim. When they kind of play their own little mini game there, it's great. So that's what I really liked about that composition.
Yeah, and about that win as well, right? I bet.
Yeah.
Here's what you might have missed here, Frank. Hyper, roll that second
What?
clip. Let's just go ahead and see. Look at them. They're at the base, right? You think they have it. They're so close, but I want you to watch those timers for me here, Frank. Look who's coming up in just about another second.
Yeah, Seraphine has no damage. What?
Yeah. No, not at all.
Okay,
And
well,
then-
she killed. Wait, what?
Wait, yeah. So
No. Kaisi can finish this, right?
there, Kaisi can finish this. No, she can't. No. No, she cannot, Frank. I'm sorry to disappoint you. What ends up happening is that the sweet siren of the Star-Eyed Stonker sung them back to their save point. Boom! And that with that panic tech kill, we are now back all into it. Revival was said to be 2-1, looking at 1-0 so far. We have it already. I'm sorry to disappoint you here, Frank. So, it is a curse of being in that middle block as an analyst. The beatdown was always wrong. And you're wrong already, bro. It's just, what can I say, man? I'm always talking about this stuff. It's not great. But Kari, let's go and start off with you. Bay State coming into the early game, they were looking real good. Things were shining. They were 3-0.
Yeah,
Right?
they're doing a really great job. Like, even considering that they had those subs in, I was really impressed that they were, really good lane flow and tempo. It was a little chaotic to be expected, but they tried so hard and they got so far. And in the end, they got the L. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, I'm actually a little bit shocked right now. A Seraphine pentakill.
Not something you generally see every day, but like you mentioned before, that Star-Eyed Songstress is a deadly one overall. So never underestimate Seraphine damage here, and that is why she's unequivocally the best champ in the game. But even going past the early game, you saw our Revival started to pick it back up, but it was so back and forth here, Frank. I couldn't even tell who was winning.
Well, I guess I have to analyze now. Yeah, in that mid game, it was pretty back and forth. We saw, even in that early game, like that dragon fight where no one wanted that first dragon for the longest
Not a
time.
single one.
It was really like, it's like the last chip in a bowl where you're just like, you don't want to be the one that eats it because then you feel guilty for taking it.
Bro, it's like me
so
getting
you're
picked
just
for
like-
dodgeball in middle school, man. It's just like at the end of the day, you're gonna have to pick me. You're gonna have to pick me eventually, but like, just why not just pick me earlier on? Save us both the trouble, right?
Yeah,
But
just get it done. But neither of the teams were just interested. But it was really back and forth. We saw plays come out. We saw the dragon fight thing that happened. But what went really well for the side of Revival in that game was really that top side. That top side concept just got so far ahead. And of course, for Bajani, he's put in a really unfortunate situation. The team came in with a draft plan, but it came in with Max and Jacko. That was the game plan. So having to repivot their entire strategy to work around players that they have, of course, used in the roster, but at such a late notice, really just threw a big wrench into the plan. And while they were able to use the Hecarim in the lane phase, being able to combine, play around with that Oriana, and even into later in the game, that combination worked, but they just weren't able to hook everything up with the Camille. The Camille just felt so out of place, even in mid to late game.
And moving forward into this, right? And hopefully Bay State have had a chance to kind of just warm up and test their fingers, right? Just to get the blood flowing, but not looking at this Jakari. Do you think Bay State has a chance to come back from this? If so, how do they do it?
Banning Udyr is a good start. I'm not to deride anything. It's Bay State did. I want to say Bay State actually did incredible for the fact that they had a crazy upset. I'm actually really impressed. And I think that part of that is because, the crazy chaos of this game, the reason it was so fun is because these teams don't actually have their full rosters. I haven't been able to scrim. They haven't been able to. So, I mean, we're having fun. I hope they are too, because they are actually exceeding expectations. That wasn't a bronze game. It was better. It was more fun. It's people who know what they're doing the wrong thing at the wrong time. So I think Bay State can come back. I do. That game was close. You saw.
Yeah. I agree. I'm right there with you. I even brought up the point, so I'm not going to deny you on that here. But now, Frank, on the other end, for the side of Revival, what would they need to clean up to possibly give us that clean 2-0?
Well, as the Bay State person, I'm still shook, but
understandable.
For Revival, I think it really just comes down to continue to pepper that top lane. I think they can really abuse that top lane matchup. But Johnny still looks, a lot of his early lane management was off, and then connecting with the team was off. So I think if they are able to isolate him and really take advantage, then the entire game plan for the side of Bay State will end up being in almost like a half man down situation nonstop.
Mm-hmm. And you saw it too, like on multiple different times, right? That going into the mid to late game team fights, fighting around the Baron, like you mentioned, even around the Dragon, whenever Bay State had the opportunity to split up the composition of Revival, you saw them ultimately coming out on top. But Revival, I found, played with such brazen confidence that they weren't necessarily they were not able to be put down at all. And you saw with just how many rocket jumps that Sudsy took into the team fight, not out. Which is what makes this a lot more fun. Exactly like you mentioned, Akari. And we said at the beginning of the game, we are here for fun and fantastic League of Legends. And I believe that's exactly what we're experiencing. And I want to see more of it. And as usual, looks like I'm going to be right again. I'm sorry to you all. Just superior analysis doesn't come good to everybody, but because you guys are guys, I'll give it to y'all. First time's the charms, right? This is, you guys will learn. But with that being said, we're going to keep it back to our casters, Street Down Boulevard, and Travesty to take us into game number 2 to prove me right.
Oh, shit.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are getting into, we're in the UPL. I'm renaming it into the Scrapyard after that first game because, man, beatdown. We had a scrappy game 1 to start us off with this series, much anticipated, and you can definitely say game 1 definitely lived up to a hype of a back and forth tug of war match between these two teams.
Don't think I could have described it any better, especially it all coming down to Revival's Nexus at 50% HP for them to be able to actually clutch it out with those respawns, only to TP into Bay State's base. It was pretty wild, to say the least. I think now, though, us and the rest of the teams, of course, have their sights set on game 2. What are Revival going to be able to do to close this one out in a 2-0 fashion? What do Bay State want to do to try and come back and take us to a third game? I think I want to lean and talk a little bit more about what we want to see and expect from Bay State. The thing was, I didn't have a problem with Bay State's trap. I said it early on. I liked it. It just, some mis-executions and some really crucial points and crucial skirmishes, team fights, were ultimately what gave Revival these incremental leads that they end up taking all the way to a win. And that is kind of the thing I want them to clean up going forward. Because if you think about that last fight where they were still behind in gold on the side of Bay State, all their ultimates come through, Travi. All of them. Everything, the shockwave hits, the onslaught of shadows, it hits. It was beautiful, and they won. But that was one of maybe 5 or 6 instances where they didn't.
Yeah, I was about to say there's a couple of key members that we have to talk about. And you
Oh,
know,
you're not letting this go, are you?
I'm going to be the bearer of bad news. I'm going to be the toxic one out of this duo. Okay, we got good caster, bad caster here. So they're not
True.
much hyped here, right? Very much so a hype player coming into the series, making a lot of mechanical mistakes, right? Had the sombrero on, and like I said, inside the cast, needs to go and watch a couple MK videos to see how you use a hat like that, because they need to see how Kung Lao throws his hat around and lets it do the damage for him. He's wearing it far too much, and that's a player I feel like I'm going to have to be very critical of. Yeah, game 1, nerves can be a thing, but we have to keep an eye on him because he is such a key member. We talked about it. We hyped him up before the break happened, and then even after the break, we're like, he's still so good. We had stat pages going on about this guy, and now he needs to continue. He needs to show why is he so hyped up in this mid lane position, because he is a key for Bay State to be able to make a much more convincing game out of this.
And there isn't a more crucial time for that to need to happen than now, Travi, because Bay State are 1 game away from being eliminated from the UPL playoffs. This is single elim. We're in the quarterfinals, so we're still best of 3. And Bay State College do need to show us more. They need to dig deep down as they can, and they need to come through in some of these team fights. Because again, I like game 1 draft. I just need to see better execution. And we're going to see so far as some of the early bands coming through are about the same as before. What draft are we going to see from Bay State in this game?
Well, Bay State is kind of hovering this schedule on it. We'll have to see what they do, but it is a Senna, so it's the same. It's the same thing here. They just wanted to give us a little bit of a tease there, but you know, it's one of those things. It's very interesting. But the first adaptation has came out. Seraphine banned away by Revival here.
Well, that makes sense. You're on red side. Seraphine is definitely one of those very powerful champs where if it's open B1, you should take that. And Revival recognized that as they did it in game 1. So now that they're on blue side, they're going to take that one away. Still a lot of strong picks available here. And with that Zoe ban, which is what they banned before, so it's probably what they're going to lock in. Still a lot of other strong champions available. The Rel, the Tristana. And I'm curious to see what Bay State are going to prioritize.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see as well here, right? Like, you want to see what you want to lock in here. You have a couple power picks still left open, and Devil was fantastic in the last game. If you want to talk about the best performing member of Bay State, it was him, and why not give him what he performed on last time?
And Heckram, since you mentioned it, is going to get locked in, and I agree with you. Had a really good performance overall, I think. I especially love the early game punish we saw onto Sudsy, setting him behind very early on and making that lane actually very difficult for him to play out until later stages of the game, and he and Revival caught up. So now, Heckram locked in, makes a lot of sense. Revival, hovering a couple of funny picks, some paying homage, some not. But it seems like Galio is one pick they're going for, and I still think Tristana is really nice here.
Yeah, I was about to say too, though, like, we're looking at it, they do have another pick that they can lock in, but we saw Revival do a lot of fletzing, right? So, you know, this could be another instance of flets. We'll have to see if it gets locked in or if you're just being trolled here. Beat down.
Nope.
It is locked in.
I'm too smart. What can I say?
The emotional warfare is coming out here. The producer getting his payback on the casters here, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. That's exactly what this is. Cruel and unusual punishment.
I mean, like, it is what we expect from Revival to come out here. The Tristana really great, especially on red side when we already talked about it. Mid and top, 2 places Revival do like to give counter pick on as Sudsy and Concept, both very good players, both very well-performing players in the squad. So having that Tristana doesn't give a whole lot early on, and this time they do lock in that Caitlyn. I'm curious to see if they are going to pair it with that Morgana, maybe a Lux, or that kind of bottom lane dominance that we actually saw last night.
Yeah, could be the Morgana. They have a couple options, and there it is, locked in. They said that's the option they want. So good old Caitlyn Morgana coming back into the mid. See what the answer from Revival is going to be, as they do have some flexibility, but why not just go ahead and lock in Thresh for yourselves again here, right? They're kind of hovering it and thinking about it.
Well, Thresh would actually be really difficult for them to play out just because it's hard for a lot of your CC to go out. The Black Shield, the fact that you're going to get poked in range. See, that's Now that is a good answer, and probably the reason why you shouldn't blind Morgana. I think they called Revival's bluff in seeing that Galio, in that it's not something we see Sudsy play too often, so I think they were expecting it to be in the bot lane, but unfortunately, that was not the call to make, as Karma now is going to be locked in, and if it's really that Tristana, that is going to be a difficult lane for Lobos and Chukis to play.
Yeah, I was about to say, right? This is the power that we saw from Revival in the Game 1 draft. A lot of flexibility that gives you a lot of opportunities, and that's really good to see from Red side. You want to play to the weaknesses that Blue side has if you can find them. Great, able to find a matchup they want. Now we're going through ban phase 2 here, and have to see exactly what they're pinching here, as we're seeing Revival throwing a couple bans at mid lane, while Bay is throwing a couple bans over towards the top side. It's Concept definitely deserved.
Course, and I gotta imagine they use both of these bans on Concept just to maybe limit the opportunity of or the counterpick potential there in that top lane. And of course, Revival probably nope, not quite. They're gonna actually lock in that ban on the Orianna most likely, as again there was a lot of impact Serenok had. It might not have been the as much as he could have, but you have to respect that if a lot of those shockwaves land, just a couple more of them, Revival lose that game. So instead, they're just going to take it right off.
I am curious of what Serenok is going to want to play into a Galio here in the mid lane, right? Like the traditional thing in my mind says TF, right? Is like a big matchup, just that way you can kind of follow him around. But I'm curious, what does Serenok do? Does he want to grab something that just prioritizes laning phase for himself? Does he have some sort of secret pick he's ready to lock in? While on the other side, Revival is looking, if they do lock this in, they have a tried and true combo.
Try to remember, we don't talk about hovers, right?
Hey, it's there!
They are going to lock it in, which I think is interesting. The Jarvan is an interesting pick, mostly because there is no Orianna to really pair it with, but you do have follow-up on that Cataclysm with the Galio, so there is that hero's interest. The only thing really to worry about is that early wave clear, not so great, but because they nerfed power farming, this might actually be very beneficial for the champion that is J4, especially because he already was surfacing in the power farming jungle meta to some success.
Level 2 king, man. He is great at being able to do such. We do see the Gnar locked in from the side of Bay State. A nice blind top laner to go ahead and lock in for yourself, and can be to great success. And boom, Serenok grabs Xerath. It is something that he said, hey, I'm comfortable playing in the Galio here.
Which is definitely an interesting one, and we're just going to see what this last pick is going to be into this Gnar in the top lane. And it actually is going to be that Wukong. See, the thing with Wukong into Gnar, that is more or less a skill matchup. Wukong can win out hard, also can't. The thing is, though, Concept of X, just like how Cyber is the best Kha'Zix player, like #1 Kha'Zix player, Concept of X is the #1 Wukong player. So this is his champ. This is one he knows inside and out, and this is a matchup that he can dominate. So I gotta imagine Revival are going to be able to take advantage of that, especially having this mid lane, most likely mid lane Galio coming through here as well. You're going to be able to make a lot of plays in the side lane with that hero's entrance, and that first ult come level 6 could very well either be used talk for Concept, or maybe even in that bot lane that's also going to be a late game nightmare.
All right, well, real quick, what I'm gonna do for you real quick, I'm gonna bake a cake, all right? And we're gonna have some layers to the cake, all right? So the first layer that the first flavor we're gonna have here, we're going red velvet, right? Not. Let's go something very fancy, delicate, you know? Right? Everybody likes red velvet. I've never met somebody who doesn't like red velvet.
They're crazy.
We're gonna start it off with doing the J4 here. That's the very first layer of the cake, right? He's going to be able to jump in, lay in the Cataclysm. It's going to be nice. It's going to make sure that the cake is going to have its foundation, right? But now we're going to get to the juicy part. We're going to make what makes the cake juicy itself. That's going to be the
Don't tell me you're putting ice cream in it. Okay.
Following it up, right? But right before you get into that juiciness, right? You get into the nice overlay. And that's the Wukong coming in from out of nowhere, knocking everything up, and all of a sudden you have an explosion of flavor. That's what this team fight is. It's a beautiful, juicy red velvet cake, so moist that your eyes, your taste buds would not be able to believe it. In Revival, that's exactly what they're coming in here packing. I see you licking your lips. People on Twitch chat, they might be looking at it. They might be licking. They got the drool coming down yet again here. But Revival have this juicy cake that they're looking to build upon with this wombo that they currently have established for themselves.
I think the only thing I really have to say about this is that you're going to have to solo cast now, Trappy. I'm sorry, chat. I need to go eat just after that description. I was just
Getting
given.
late.
I am hungry. It's getting late. No, but all jokes aside, yeah, I do like this composition here from Revival, especially that Karma into the bot lane. This is kind of why you don't blind Kate Morgana, and it's tough because in Bay State's composition, you want this Kate to get ahead, and in classic fashion, you want plate gold, you want dominance, you want CS lead, kills if possible, get to 3 items as fast as you can is the point. And in a matchup where they're most likely going to be shoved in most of the time, that's not good. That's going to be really tough for Bay State. And if you look across the lanes here, the only other real source of damage they are going to have is Bajani and Serenok in that mid lane, because of course we know Devil the Grey will most likely be going tank once again. So although a lot of engage, a lot of sustain, not a whole lot of damage.
Yeah, and I do want to touch on the fact that we do have Bay State on what is comfort, right? And this is something that you do see in best of threes, right? When your back is up against the corner, you turn around and say, hey, listen, I'm just going to go for comfort. Devil on Hecarim, he was fantastic on it last game. Joanna Ease is like, hey, listen, last game, not that great. Blind me, Gnar, it makes sense. It's the best blind pick top that you can really pick to be safe with. Then you look over on the other side and they're like, hey, listen, I want lane dominance. I want something that I can prove lane dominance on. Let's grab Caitlyn Morgana, tried and true. Comfort going across the board, and then Serenok, we don't have to talk about him and Seraph. That's pretty much, it's infamous what Serenok does on it. It is literally just like his champion. If he was to win worlds, right? If Serenok goes on to win worlds, we would have a Xerath.
That's right, and that's actually, that is a good point here that we didn't highlight. It's definitely a champ he's well versed on, very big fan of it, and has a lot of experience playing it. So Serenok, especially being able to farm at range, shouldn't be afraid of losing to Sudsy in that 1v1. So I think overall, my concern for Bay State is this. Game 1's draft was good, and it was easier to execute than what we're looking at now, but they still weren't able to get it done. Now, this is a harder draft to play with. Now, your Caitlyn isn't going to get as fed as quickly as you want her to be, and you have the risk of a lot of side lane plays being made because you're facing an enemy Galio. This is more difficult to play, and from what we saw in game 1, Bay State have their work cut out for them.
Yeah, I would definitely say if you had to compare these two teams, they're both like knights in shining armor in game 1, right? They have this armor suit that's been built up, right? There's no kinks in the armor, there's no holes really showing here, and then finally some kinks are shown here and there. They're scrapping with each other. You can hear the steel clashing in game 1. Game 2 comes around. Bay State said, screw the armor. We're throwing it all off. We're going to go ahead and expose as much as we need. We need to move around. We need to get comfy. They grab the biggest sword they can find, and they're looking to see if they can go it. But with that being said, it's like you said, they're not only are they finding themselves in a competition that's harder to execute, it's easier to be exploited. And I think that is the worry when we saw a scrappy game 1. I have to see if they're going to be able to clean up some of that scrappiness and put it in their favor for the side of bet.
And well, here we go. Bay State, backs against the wall, last chance here, or they get knocked out of the UPL quarterfinals. Again, tough draft, but not impossible. We even talked about the difficulties of playing around the Gnar bar. That's going to be the big thing for Bajani and co going into some of these later skirmishes here. But I think in general, I would keep my eye on that top lane simply because, again, Concept on his most played, most well-versed champion into a matchup that he can dominate. And if Concept does manage to put Bajani behind, get a large lead, he's going to be, once again, that big side lane threat that always garners that disproportionate response that allows you to punish.
I do want to talk real quick about the keystones that we do have while we have a moment of silence here between these two teams. And I do want to point out we have Aftershock on the Galio, so no Predator Galio from Sudsy here. And we do have the Hellblades Tristana coming back into this game here, so we are seeing that coming out from Lobos. But Also have the comment on to the Karma. So really looking to lay into that laning advantage that Karma will be able to provide versus.
Yeah, this is actually this is already even a more rough start for the bot lane of Bay State because they leash Devil the Grey. Not only do they give away that information, and look at this, they're already zoned from the wave. One Karma Q, a nice chunk of health, and Invictrix isn't really allowed to CS. Look at that, he's almost lost half his HP already. I feel a little bad.
Yeah, we already knew from the Thresh game that Chookies has no problem hitting the Q key and hitting people with it.
That's right.
So he's just being dead on with these little chakra blasts he's throwing out here. He's laying out the hurt and yet again in pictures. Oh man, it's painful. It is definitely that, and Sarah not having a good time inside the mid lane versus Sudsy.
And it's tough, especially because, you know, Devil the Grey is pathing towards the top side of the map now. They even have that deep vision set there, so they'll know when he's in the area. So far, it looks like Devil the Grey is the one being tracked very well. Last game, it was Sudsy. A little bit of trying to build up that speed, you know, Hector need more AD, stuff like that. But so things, again, going to be pretty chill right now. I think we're going to see more activity from Cyber early on this time around. Of course, J4, a lot of the primary use does end up being from the ganks come level 3. That flag
no,
and
this
drag
is
combination
bad.
is so good.
Concept. Concept, you go ahead, call in the Jaws noise. He's coming in for it. He's looking at you, Devil. He's looking to send you down. He's looking for it, possibly here. Smite comes through. Devil is trying to land a little bit more damage. Flag and drag on in, but the knockup will not be successful. They're looking to continue this on forward. First blood going over to Concept, and Concept is going to continue laying in the hurt as Sudsy is able to push away Serenok from this beautiful play coming out from the top side of Revival.
Yeah, and that late vision they placed there to get the tracking on Devil the Grey was punished beautifully. So now they've already set his clear time behind. Now Cyber is on his way to double crab, walks through mid lane just to make Serenok no, sir, can't walk up today.
Yeah, the bot lane has priority here as well, so they don't have the information that Galio's actually was recalling there, so he just has to back up. The last time he saw him is Galio was down there, so it's just a double scuttle diff here. And man, this is one of those moments where I want to go back and just get a replay of what Concept did in laning phase there, by the way, because he set that up so beautifully. We didn't get to see it actually on the screen, but it was actually a thing of beauty as we might have a dive possibly coming out here. Cyber looking to be in position. Nitrous so low, one flag and drag the preemptive heal. Cyber just has to puff out his chest to scare them away.
Just his mere presence forces that summoner spell out of Invictrix, and even worse, forces both of these laners out of lane. Already down 20 CS, it's going to be more and XP to boot. So this is really tough for the side of Bay State's bottom lane. What should have been a win condition just isn't going to be by the looks of it here. Now it's tough. You have to play through other lanes if you were Bay State. Serenok has to receive some resources, but how does he do that when Devil the Grey gets killed on his blue buff, already delaying the big level 6 spike that we talked about?
Yeah, the big level 6 spike being delayed is definitely crucial, and with all of the lanes really going into favor of Revival is a really major point. Vegelani did go Mega, is not going to be able to get the stun on the Concept, and Concept will lay out some hurt onto him as a response, but Concept is still 1v1ing this. This is a Mega Gnar. It does lay out a mega amount of damage, as you said, in the last game, and Devil will be spotted out here in the top side looking for a possible game.
Yeah, so Cyber does go for his Krugs, realizes that they are taken from him. So he is actually a little bit down in XP as Devil the Grey is level 5, but they can actually make a play on Bajani simply because he's exhausted right now.
He's a tired little Gnar, man. I understand it. He's a little. It's past his time, you know. Yeah, he's looking to get some din, and Concept is level 6. Could be a rough person to go after. Nice snare to connect onto Chookies down here in the bottom side, but nothing else to go out as Cyber did recall there.
It's so tough having to use the spell shield simply to try and save Invictrix's health bar is really unfortunate. As you can see the CS difference still above 20, still so hard here because of the XP disadvantage as well.
Oh,
You can see the
Devil the
twin
Gray.
coming-
He's here.
He's
They're
sick.
looking for it. Devil's not level 6 here. And
Wait.
look at this. He's just going to get spinning right round. He's looking for 1v2. Bring it
way.
on. Concept says, I'll take you all on. Finds himself one. Will he find himself another bench one? He's trying to build up that rage bar. He wants to go mega. Concept low in mana
Yeah.
here. Galio's
Oh,
here
look
in
at
the
that.
area. Hit him with the Yo Mama joke. He's going to be able to take him out. And that is going to be beautiful play coming out from Revival on the top side, finding themselves 2 kills.
And I love that.
And a
roam
Drake.
Oh my god, they are just winning on both sides of the map here, Travi. And the fact that Sudsy roamed to the top side, walking. No Predator, no nothing. Just the old-fashioned way, walk to that top lane. So he still has the hero's entrance available. If there is a play they want to make on the bottom, because of course, being constantly pushing does have
Ooh,
put
Storm
you-
Blow.
Oh my god, Lobos. Oh, is he rooted?
Yeah, it was a lot of damage that just came out there. That was disgusting. Cyber's down here in the bot side yet again. Devil the Gray is going to be able to spot him out. They know the dive is coming. They don't have to sniff it out. They saw him with their own 2 eyes. Cybers is actually cyber bullying at this point in time. It's going to be a snare to connect, but Flag and Drag keeps him safe. And this tower, we're at 8 minutes here, and it's down to its last plate already.
Very few champions push like Tristana does, and now it feels like the desperation is coming through. They feel like they have to make a play happen, and look at the gold difference. 3,000 at 8 minutes. I'd be feeling pretty desperate too.
Yeah, Devil is having to stay here at bot side because his 2v2 lane, a Kayla Morgana lane, is not able to 2v2. They need the 3v2 to be able to just maintain whatever HP they have left on the tower. But how this all happens over in the top lane, Bejuani, he's suffering at the hands of Concept as Sunsy is ganking his lane now. And it's just a feels bad story for Bejuani as Concept is 3-0 in 1 currently.
And this is the power of that pick that we talked about. Winning out in that 2v1 scenario is absolutely fed out of his mind, no less. Is going to be a really big problem here for Bay State. And the fact that Invictrix and Sword Blue, they had to back because they knew Lobos was going to take that turret. It's just tough scenes all around here, Travi. There isn't a whole lot for Bay to be able to do. I think at this point, Devil the Gray is feeling the pressure to be some sort of carry, and it's looking like that's the item path he's going through. You see that longsword, that pickaxe? You got to imagine it's a Divine Sunder angle for this course so that he can threaten the backline with some actual damage.
Yeah, it needs to. Absolutely needs to. As honestly, you look at the individual matchups, I really have to highlight Concept even more here. It's something that we didn't get to see on camera, but ever since level 1, he's been zoning Gnar, which is a ranged champion versus a melee, something that you do have to take in a note, and that kind of talks about how Concept feels in this matchup. Has zoned him away from the waves actually constantly. It's been huge, and a lot of the gold differential started off just from him, but now it's getting spread out through the map because they get to focus their resources on the bot side, on the mid lane, and this Revival is looking completely unlocked at this moment in time.
And it's even tougher to Revival. Going to rotate their whole team to take this first Rift Herald, and Invictrix moving to the top side of the map with his support, hoping to get some kind of spare farm as he's down 40 CS. And what you gotta imagine is a decent bit of XP as well. But of course, Revival are gonna get the Rift Herald in exchange. Could easily set up a play top side. I thought they were walking towards it for a second, but I think the play is probably mid.
Yeah, it's more than likely mid, by the way.
Probably
Spooking them over here in the top side here. Cyber is just wanting to make sure his presence is known. Is looking for that snare, but beautiful escape from Cyber. Hit him with the B, and will be able to make himself out of there as Revival. Not losing anything for anything that's gone on here.
I think what's worse too is you have 2 ultimates committed there, both from Sword Blue and Devil the Gray. You don't even get Cyber Splash. He just gets the EQ and he's gone. And
Tristana has
like,
Herald.
oh, so they're just gonna that's the turret.
That is going to be a turret. Sudsy is here. The dive is a potential, and wow, that is
You have to leave.
Tower plating isn't down yet, beat down.
No, it's not. It's up for 2.5 more minutes, in fact. And this is almost like what Caitlyn should be doing. You get all the plates bot, you get all the plates top, and you got to imagine after they finish pushing this wave and potentially towards a second charge, you're going to see Lobos and Chookies move to the mid lane and just do it all over again.
Screw talking about the differential between CS and Wukong and Gnar. Look at the differential in farm between Tristana and Caitlyn, and that tells you a whole nother story, right? Almost a 50 CS differential. Getting halfway to a flame horizon at this point in time in the game is huge. I want to see the gold, honestly. I want to see what the gold is looking like on these individuals.
I'm scared.
They gotta be
I'm
packing.
scared to look. Oh, they are going to show it to us, and there it is. Lobos 2,000 gold ahead, almost 2,000 as well, going for concept of X, and it's just, this is hard.
Yeah, all
This is
together,
really hard for Bay to play.
it's slightly over a 5k difference to make sure that the viewers at home can understand that. Wukong has almost 2k, Tristana has slightly over 2k. So out of 5k, 4k of it is between the Tristana and the Wukong in terms of the lead. That's insanely huge.
Yeah, and look what that means for Devil the Grey. He doesn't own his jungle anymore. As soon as Revival steps up, it's I'm so sorry. I'm just gonna leave, okay? I'm gonna go to the other side of the map, and I'm gonna farm that scuttle. Is that okay? All right, thank you. As you can see, he's gonna grab that scuttle for himself. But of course, Revival have a ward there too, so they know everything he's doing. They've tracked him really well throughout that early game up until this mid game. And that's what's kneecapped Bay State in this game too, more than anything else.
Yeah, I honestly, you use that analogy, and all I can think of is maybe it's more like the little brother asking the older brother if they can play their game console. But right now, it looks like the older brother is about to find out that they have been playing on their game console. They had their iPod, they had the headphones in, they didn't hear anything. They get over into the other room, the little brother's playing their copy of Halo. They don't appreciate it, and you can see they completely answer back, and Bay has to run away. They have to go finding some form of help for them to get out of that situation.
This is where desperation is going to start to stay in. Bay State, they're going to feel pressured to force a play here. Try and see if someone's even a little bit out of position and hoping they can take him out. Concept, he is pushed pretty far ahead right now, and a lot of members of Bay State are in the area. They could look to shut him down, but with everything up, the Cyclone, the Flash, it is really going to be hard to get out of a skirmish like that unscathed. And if Sudsy is nearby, which I mean he's not right now, but when that play culminates, Hero's Entrance is available too. So Revival have so much going for them right now. All the gold on the right people. Bay State, they barely have any gold to work with here. And this next dragon is coming up in 3 minutes. This Ocean Soul would be the nail in the coffin. So somehow, some way, they need to find that dragon.
Yeah, it's rough though, right? Like we were talking about it earlier on. I was saying, like, you know, Bay is that team. They took off all their armor, and it's like they're trying to go into that boss mode status, right? They're like, I'm powering up. I'm going fully on the offensive. But then they find out that now they don't have the armor, right? They're finding out that there are no kinks in the armor because there's no place that's exposed. Everything is exposed. The cataclysm there was literally just the grave being dug out for Bejuani there. It was completely unnecessary, but Rival is just talking about making a statement and just trying to build and accelerate this lead as fast as they can. We're 15 minutes into the game, and they are knocking on inner towers here so insanely fast with only 5 kills to their name.
Yeah, and the problem does end up being, like I talked about, Concept so big right now, to actually take him out will require such a disproportionate response. And the fact that Revival's macro has just been so good this game, you got to imagine they will take so much for that one shutdown on Concept. And at that point, the game will probably become unrecoverable. It's not yet, but we are approaching that game state very quickly.
Yeah, the only person on Bay that's currently in a strong position right now is Serenak, who we were talking about earlier here. And, you know, about to complete that first item, has a CS differential that's in favor of himself, but you could also look at Sudsy, as Sudsy's been roaming to top side twice now, so you can kind of be like, he got a kill, he got 2 assists, that equals up, it's equivalent at that point. It is they have to figure out a way. I feel like they have to give up this next Drake and just hope that they're able to find themselves in a good position to find something happening, because it's hard to protect the Zeref against this kind of composition.
Yeah, I think you need to try and keep a track on when Revival are going for these resets and try to sneak in whatever vision you can. If you can somehow miraculously control vision in and around that Dragon Pit, you do have an opportunity, especially if Vijani can get a nice Gnar ultimate, and you, like you said, do have Serenok, who's really starting to come online here. I do see a world where they win a fight. Problem is, can they actually do so? You can see the vision is so good for Revival. They're placing all these deep wards. They aren't even letting Vijani take one away, and they're sweeping. They're making sure this whole jungle is dark. If we could get a toggle, like, we could just see what base state sees, and it's a trick question. They don't see anything.
This honestly is looking like a game. Like, here you go. You
that.
see the fog of war. Beautiful. Thank you, Observer, for your fantastic work, because it just paints the picture perfect here. But what I was going to say, I mean, if you've ever played like a game like Teamfight Manager, right? This is like when you get to draft that perfect composition against your opponent, and they just can't do anything. There's a satisfying feeling from Revival I'm sure they're feeling right now. But right now, they're looking at the possibility of maybe a possible perfect game here as they do grab this inner tower for themselves. They actually are going to lose their top tower to the Caitlyn, so perfect game's gone away.
At this point, going deathless, I think, would still be very impressive for the members of Revival.
Oh, the angry cat concept! No!
I was going for him!
Oh, he flashed the angry cat at him. You know it's real. Oh, God. He's killed him.
Gray is just recalling on the bottom side. He's like, "Oh, you're dead, homie. I'm sorry."
Concept, you can't do
Saddest
it
thing
like
I've ever
that.
seen.
You can't do it like that.
I love the anger cat before he engages.
He wasn't
So
happy about the
rude.
net, man. Don't throw a net at this man. You don't want to try and have that happen, but Rival right now, just 6 kills to the name, but a 6K lead is something they're definitely right home about. Oh, wait, the red buff's falling! Stop the bully! And over on the back side, Benchawani is completely zoned away from the fight. The heroic entrance comes in. Buster Shot's going to be able to give him that reprieve, but the bomb ticks away. The Gray goes down, and so does the Morgana fall. They're looking for the right of the Arcane, trying to lay on any damage, but it's just a flesh rune. Nothing serious to come out of it. Now Serenok is in between the towers. He is going to find himself in a tricky situation. The taunt comes through, a heroic punch, and Cyber goes in for the kill. Now Invictus trying to lay out a couple shots, but in the back line it is Concept. He's looking to try and lay out some damage. Is he going to be the leader of the team? Take that angry cannon, take it back home. Cyber now going to take an extra tower shot. That's going to be enough to take him on out. Invictus is the last man standing here in this mid tower, but he has reinforcements on the way, and Revival is going to go ahead and retreat.
And even those 2 kills aside, getting a little too hypey on the side of Revival. Travi, one thing we didn't even talk about, and I was trying to bring up before that fight came around, Revival already have Soul Point. They're 1 dragon away from the Ocean Soul, and all that extra sustain will make this game impossible for Bay State to come back from. They're going to try and get this tier 1 in the mid lane. They will finally. It's going to be their second turret and a nice bit of extra gold. And they're actually going to be able to finally set up a bit of vision because of the loss of Revival's top laner and their jungler. And like you said, it's only a mild reprieve, but it is something that they are going to take stock of. The problem ends up being they somehow are going to need to make a play for this Baron in the next couple of minutes, because if they're going to have to choose, Revival will make it so hard on them.
I agree. Something else that's interesting. Normally, when you see a J4 in the jungle, usually you think of Gore Drinker. This is a Stridebreaker J4 coming out from Cyber here. The flag and drag wasn't enough for this guy.
And it's the thing that's tough too is Gore Drinker got nerfed enough that like it's not amazing. It's not as OP as it used to be. And Stridebreaker is just incredible. Like any AD bruiser champion, you build Stridebreaker. The fact that you have a little bit of a gap closer with the active, that gap closer is also slow, will stay on top of people. There's just no two ways around it.
Caliho just killing Morgana inside of their jungle there. Morgana's just trying to ward. Revival is taking no prisoners inside this game here. Right after Arcane coming out, you can get a little bit of vision, lay out a little bit of damage. How meaningful will it be? As Tristana getting dropped down critically low, was able to halt the Baron from going on over.
Oh, Serenok's in trouble, I think.
Yeah, he's in a tricky situation. But Ventress is maybe in a little bit more trouble, as now when you're seeing the gray screen, there's not much else you can worry about after that besides what you should buy next. But
That's true.
Serenok will have to pay tribute.
Yeah, where is he?
Look at, yeah, I was about to say, if Ventress was in a terrible situation, I'm trying to figure out how the heck he got all the way over here. I need a replay to see this. Oh, no! God, Ventress, no! He is gone. Cyber is gone, and I would love to see a replay, but it's not going to happen, ladies and gentlemen, because they're just continuing to keep on going. The TPs are coming on in. Sword Blue is looking to see if they can catch up. Chucky's going to be heroic interest coming on in, so he's going to be there to join the fray, as the rest of the team is going to be able to find him. Sword Blue falls down as the Tristana will easily pick up that kill, and we are right about back where we started, back to the Baron buff, and Serenok in range as the Rite of Arcane is on cooldown. So, looking to possibly try and peel him off.
Oh.
It's lower in it. Devil the Grey is taunted, can't join. Bejuani doesn't get the Gnar out. The ultimate abilities have whiff, but the shutdown goes over. Tristana taken out. The Baron has slowed down immensely as all the members have gone away from it. Serenok looking to continue this poke on through Suds. He's going to be able to go into a rampage. Serenok looking to see if he can continue laying out the damage. This concept goes on down. J4 is going to be able to secure it. Gets the Baron for himself, but Bejuani is in here with Sudsy. Taunt going to be able to land onto two, but Sudsy is nothing more than a sacrifice for his team to be able to get out alive. The Rod Outer Arcane coming on in, but Serenok is only going to be 1 for 4 on that. Not going to be able to connect with the rest of the blasts, and Chookies will make it out alive. And this is going to be the halt to the Ocean Soul Point coming out by Bay as they are looking to claw their way back in.
But the problem that's coming through for Bay State, yes, they delay the Ocean Soul, which is crucial. And even though they get some picks, they lose the Baron. That's the problem, because at this point, although Concept can't split and threaten with that Baron push as well as he's died, you still have 3 Barons on the side of Revival. You can run it through mid and look to end the game, or if anything, top, as you have a wave coming through, you have a lot of those turrets taken down, and you could look to end it with one more fight here. It does look like one more recall is coming through, or to spend some of that extra gold, be as strong as you possibly can, because Revival are looking to close things out here and now, and all Bay State can do is load up as much as they can, get...
Yeah, 100% agree with you there, as I personally, I look at Revival's composition here, and the biggest thing for me here is just, you know, I feel like Revival needs to recognize Serenok's actually pretty strong, right? He's got the Ludens plus this the Horizon. Like, you have to just start off any neutral objective, just go ahead and take him out first. That way you don't have to worry about Tristana getting bursted down from half the map away. Serenok's actually showing to be a very terrifying force, and why this champion is his signature champion.
You can see Revival trying to set up these flank plays, but Bay State setting up some really good defensive vision. This is really all they got going for them at the moment here. One slip up, one person found to be on their own is something Revival will pounce on. You're seeing the damage come through from Serenok, who is quite strong, and it does look like Revival are going to try and threaten 2 lanes here. This concept still incredibly powerful. That is a threat in his own right.
Serenok took a bit of the HP, but so did the Tristana. Serenok can't really shove out this wave with this Baron buff wave here, but is trying to lay out some poke on some vital members. We do see a possible fight starting up. Bejuani is close to getting Mega, but it is going to be the side of Revival. Recognizing that and immediately backing off as a response here. Bejuani is feeling a little bit too confident. He's got the big britches on, but Concept is just going to scare him away with Sudsy, and Mini Gnar will be coming into play here very shortly.
And the exhaustion is going to be the big thing here. Now, Revival have a window to make a play, should they really decide to, but I think they're just trying to keep these lanes pushed and potentially buy time to this Ocean Soul. The Dragon is coming up in about 2 minutes' time. So that could make sense. Just keep pushing these waves. Force Bay State to answer all of them and make it so that they can barely leave their base and force them to continuously set up this extremely defensive vision. The fact that you can't actually buff the brush by your red buff just shows how much Bay State have lost control here.
Yeah, honestly, Bay State. Oh, God.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, man, you can't Black Shield the ultimate CC, the gray screen, infamous amongst all League of Legends players.
That's right, the best TC sure is death.
Hey, listen, don't move for at least a couple more seconds, right? It's the longest CC ability in the game.
Especially later on into the game, now that I think about it, like it's pretty broken.
It scales, man.
Yes.
Yeah. It's the only thing that that holds you down longer than a Morgana bind, funnily enough.
Literally the only thing.
Only thing in the game. It's actually devastating if you get hit with that. As we
Especially
are
with
coming.
the threads.
Oh yeah, absolutely on that one, man. But we're getting close to the net streak being up. Is what I want to bring up real quick. As the timer is ticking down.
It sure is, and with it, I think the timer is ticking down on Bay State's time in the UPL playoffs. As I'm gonna quote Cubby here and say how it's not over till the fat lady sings. Well, she's taking a big, deep breath right now, Travi. I'll say that.
Yeah, oh god, as Bejuani getting caught out, is looking to possibly go Mega now, so he will be able to get a little bit more HP, and it's not going to be a kill secured by Revival there, but Devil does need to be careful. Concept looking for a possible catch. Got that double control meta, award meta inside of here. A ace in the hole for good measure on the Chookies. Is Bait just gonna disengage this, and now
Oh, he's exhausted.
yeah, he's huffing, he's puffing. Bejuani not going to be blowing anybody else's houses down, though. Onslaught of Shadows was used onto the bat side. They're just trying to buy time for Bejuani. But Bejuani, the time is ticking away for him. The pumpkin is here to play. Devil is looking to try and jump onto somebody on the bat side. Heroic entrance coming on in. Bejuani leaving him for a wild goose trace and is being very phenomenal at such, but it's just going to be the Cataclysm. They're tired of playing with him. Huge flash coming to the wall, but he's flashing into the arms of Sudsy. Going to give him a real tight hug there. And now it is Ocean Soul secured by Revival.
And Revival are going to do this one safe and by the book. Get the Ocean Soul, start walking towards that Baron, and without the top laner of Bay State present and available, Bay State are going to have to let this one go too and just try to defend the siege that Revival are going to put them through. And even though Bejuani has teleport, it doesn't matter. They are blowing through this thing, Travi, and this is probably going to be the end here.
Yeah, there's no Rite of the Arcane for Serenat the bully around the Tristana's HP bar. Not going to be able to get in range because they don't have vision secured of the top side of the jungle. This is Baron here. The reset coming out. Revival have a 12k lead just about. And they are just looking completely on top of being able to close this game out.
And the question is just going to be where, Travi?
Are
you just going to ARAM? Are you going to go through top side? Bot? You got options to work with here. It does look like Revival. Not trying to mess around anymore, I hope. And we'll just start moving down mid, look for a fight, but the pings are coming through. It looks like they're going to isolate Bejuani once again. You got to imagine. Oh, no.
Yet again, he's close to getting the Mega Gnar. Is going to be able to find it here. Is going to be able to lay a little bit of damage on the sides. He says, "Get back here! You want to try and pick on me? I'll show you that you don't just pick on the Gnar. Just because he's small, he can be mighty as he grows into Mega Gnar. But Mega Gnar getting tired is huffing puffing yet again. And he's exhausted yet again.
And there it is. That's the timer. That's the window for Revival. They can be quite aggressive. They know the Gnar ulti is not a threat for them. And you got to imagine they just go for it right now. They're looking for the taunt.
Yeah, Sudsy was looking for it, but was able to push them off of the tower. Now Cyber is here into the bat side. Devil the Grey trying to see if he can CC the members that he needs. Concepts over here inside the mid lane. That's 2 inhibitor towers to fall. No inhibitor fallen just yet.
Johnny's going to go Mega.
To be able to connect onto Concept. but he does go ahead and Quicksilver that one on away, it looks like. As oh no, it was a Mikhail's Crucible coming through by Chookies. And yeah, they just back up. They say, all right, we got an inhibitor tower here. We open up the inhibitors. Time for the third one.
Yeah, this is what I mean. Like, safe by the book. They're just going to take down every inhib and just make it impossible for Bay State to answer back at this point. And here's the point. A lot of damage on the board.
His HP completely gone. Next up is this bottom inhibitor. Not long for the world. Now it's time to play it textbook. They want another inhibitor. They want the triple inhib for themselves. They're going to be able to find that one. Now it's time. Let's rotate it on. Bring it on back now, y'all. Going up to the top side and is going to be able to find a top inhibitor for their troubles here. As the Galio gets hit by the ace and hole, it's a 1v1 down there in the bot side. As Sudsy and Devil Gray is going to be able to fight it out for themselves. Right at the arcane coming in, and that's just going to be Sudsy taking a heaping amount of damage in the fight, but it's going to be Sudsy in a 1v2 with the Ocean Drake, with the minions, is going to be able to survive, and Devil Gray walking away, limping, and is going to have to just make a swift retreat for themselves here. Revival not done yet. They're just sitting here inside the base. They got Ocean Soul, baby. They can just regen all of it back on up.
Okay, I'm gonna be real with you, Travi. Why aren't they ending the game? Like, they're up 13k. You have Baron. You have Ocean Soul. Like, what are we doing? You're so strong. Tristana's on 4 items almost. She is now.
This is essentially like just playing a little bit too safe, right? Like if I'm going to continue my day of using analogies, right? This is like the 16-year-old kid that's in the skinny side of the pool, still wearing his water wings, right? Like this is the person who is like, they're a full 4 feet above the water, right? Their feet are definitely touching. They're not even waist deep, but they still got their water wingies on, right? They're trying to be that extra bit precautious there. And that's Revival right now, right? It's either that or they're just having too much of a good time, I guess.
I mean, in games where people are less likely to FF, it could just be the enjoyment of how strong they are. But either way, it does look like things are about to come to a close any second now. I'm sure Cyber will go in. There we go.
Jump, going in forward. Not going to be anything like a Goomba Stomp, though. Onslaught of Shadows going to be able to connect. Devil to Great, drop down to under half HP. Cyber took a heaping amount of damage there. Now it's Sudsy getting a bit of damage into the bat side here. Beautiful Snare to come on through. Going to be able to connect that onto Cyber as well, but the healing coming on through and the shielding coming in from the Skarma. The heroic entrance is going to be able to be it, and this is going to be the fight that they're going to look to seal the deal. Benjani is over here inside the middle of them all, but it's just going to be member after member falling on down. It's right now 3 members left standing for both sides as Devil finds himself falling. The rest of the team falls as well. Sword Blue left to tell. And that is going to be Revival moving on into UPL playoffs.
Was that so hard? To just fight at the end there when you're so strong to just win the game? I get it. Being 4 items on Tristana is fun. I've been there. It's great. I love it. But end the game, mate. That could have been done like 10 minutes ago. And I think honestly, and this isn't like me just like, oh, end the series. I'm tired. Like this is a problem if it persists, because not being able to close out games can hurt you, especially going into the later parts of the playoffs. But at the end of the day, Revival still had a great series. I'm not going to harp on them too much. Really good play from them as they finish things off here in a 2-0 fashion.
Well, I want to add on to your point there, Beatdown. I mean, congratulations to the side of Revival, but Revival should know that a game can turn just as quickly after game 1, where they had almost lost their Nexus. They almost lost their Nexus in game 1, and then they won at the very last moment, right before the fat lady. She was holding her breath. She was about to bellow out, but then the lady from across the stage in the audience, she started singing, man. It was a completely different story that got spun. I don't know. I've never actually gone to an opera or anything of the sort.
It's the same lady, you know?
Is it the same lady?
I would like to think so, but
I need confirmation. I need confirmation on that.
Literally anybody in the chat. Hyper, you ever been to operas?
Yeah. I need confirmation when the fat lady sings. If the other team is about to win, does another lady sing?
Or is it the same lady?
Is it the same lady? So our production, I don't know if anybody could hear him, but production did just say that apparently it turns into a WWE sanctioned match between the two ladies.
The
I don't know the
RKO
exact
from nowhere.
right out of nowhere. But I do want to talk to your point, man. It is a real concern, right? Like the game isn't over until the Nexus explodes. And we've seen leads. I've seen a lead thrown when they've had Ocean Soul and a team got Elder Jake twice.
True.
Like I've seen a
Wait,
team
wow.
lose from those. Yeah, I don't think I would ever see that again, but
I
I've
would've-
seen that,
Yeah,
and
I-
could be worried.
Again, like we're not gonna harp on them too much. They still had a really good series. It's just a little nitpicky here and there, just because of stuff like that. But overall, I still think you give props to them. Game 1 was a little touch and go for Revival. But the fact that in Game 2 they did such a good job of tracking and shutting down Devil de Grey, it was like the download after Game 1. It's like, all right, you got to participate. No longer. They warded his blue buff, and that was literally where it all fell apart. And I don't know if you've played Jungle Travi, but anyone out there knows if you have to fight for your life for every single jungle camp, it sucks, man. It sucks.
Yeah. Honestly,
I feel for you, Devil.
if I can actually just ask for one thing, Revival, I know you're in the Twitch chat. I saw you in there earlier. I need a clip of just Concept's laning phase, right? Because his laning phase, actually, like I did get to look at it, but every time I looked at the minimap, he was just pushing Gnar out of the wave. And Concept on Wukong, like he showed a mastery of, and I know I harped on Revival and I said negative things, but it's because of how impressed I am by the individual play that we got to see here from them. And then the macro that got layered on top of it was absolutely beautiful. This is the Revival that is so strong for them. And, you know, I love to see this from Revival, and I'm hoping to continue to see great things from them. With that being said, Beatdown, do you have anything you would like to end this off with before we send it over to the desk to finish off the night?
Only that I'm really excited to see Revival going forward. Honestly, we didn't say it, and I'm glad I got the chance to say it now. Props to Lobos and Chukis. Only been playing with the team for a couple of weeks, but have been performing very well in lane, in team fights, and I'm really glad to see it.
Absolutely. I love to see it as well. Glad to see that they found a great fits in there. With that being said, that's it for me and Beatdown, but it's not it for the desk here. Lads and ladettes, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you very much, Travis and Beatdown. Both of us are back on the desk yet again with Nightstar and Cardi waving her cat, which is absolutely fantabulous. What a game here from Revival here, right, guys? It's Revival came into the series, but before we even get into all that, let's just get one thing out of the way. It's 2-0, baby. When am I never wrong? Just never wrong. This is always so easy. So let's get that out there. And now that I'm done stroking my own ego, let's talk a little bit more about the game here. Now, Cardi, I'll come to you here first. You saw that from the jump. Revival had a game plan, and they executed to it beautifully.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think it was mostly about breaking their mental from the get-go. With like an early invade, I think that it was basically over. I'm not gonna lie. I think that Revival really tried the best with that early invade there. So let's just take a look at that. It is it's tough.
Yeah, because you see too, especially going into a Hecarim composition, right? You have to be able to try to get the early league and shut down the Jarvan to make sure he doesn't have as much presence across the board on the map. But like, this has to happen. But when you're like that, when you get triple buff and honestly just right at the beginning, it does take a definite toll on you. And I find that from there, like we mentioned before, Revival just snowballed the entire game all the way to victory while still managing to pad their stats just a little bit, though, of course. But now, Frank, what you're looking at around as the base stays stimp on the desk, what do you got to say to him?
Well, first off, I do want to say I did get the score right. It was a 2-0. So, half credit. So Ravenish cast is never wrong, and I am a little bit right, I guess. But with that out of the way, for Bajani, it was a season to remember, but a series to forget. I think that was the summation of his mental right there. And it was a tough series for them because they had expectations coming in with Max and Jekko. It didn't work out. They weren't able to field them. And sometimes that's just how the things go. You can't always control what you get in game or outside of game, and that impacts what happens in game. And I think we saw the impact there.
Frank, you mentioned it right at the beginning too, that life is like a box of chocolates, and so is Bay State's roster. Simply, we thought we knew what we were going to get, but yet again, we were bamboozled as soon as you opened that box. You think it's a box of cookies, but really it's sewing supplies. And I've been proven wrong over and over again. And this time it ended up being sewing supplies, gang. What are you going to do about it? Now, with all that being said, I do want to thank our production crew of What's Behind Between Hates Me, and of course, our production make us look good. With all that, we do have our final standings for you as well. The final brackets are done. The games have been played, and it has been 2-0s across the board with conviction. One of our biggest upsets we've seen, losing to GMU 2-0 as well. So we'll see. So we will see Supernova face off against Rival, and then ISU going up against GMU. Those are going to be some absolutely fantastic matches, which you do not want to miss. We will have them for you next week. So, with all that being said, I want to thank Nightstar for coming on the desk with me for a second. I appreciate your skills, and of course, Kari Wave for finally joining us after our very, very busy schedule. I'm glad we can finally get a hold of you, Kari.
Busy.
It's just, I don't know how you do it, man. You just do it all. You play games, you write words, speak English. God, what's it like to be you? I
Perfection.
can't relate immediately. With all that said, I have been Ravishing Ravis, the most ravishing man on the internet. I thank you all for watching. Stay safe. Peace.